Rangers on Wednesday Baseball. ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball brings us to Wrigley Field today from the AL West, the Texas Rangers, and for the National League Central, the Cubs. And both ball clubs have some guys who are familiar with the other ball club, like Sammy Sosa, the former Ranger, Rafael Palmiero, the former Cub. Bob Carpenter, Jeff Brantly, welcome to Wrigley. Jeff, you were a rookie in 1989, high expectations, but none really higher than for Mark Pryor of the Cubs right now.
Well, there's a lot of expectations for him simply because he's deemed as a savior here, much as Kerry Wood was when he broke into the big leagues. This guy throws a great fastball. He's got a good breaking ball, but the rap on him right now is throwing a little bit too many fastballs, almost too many strikes.
You can be wild in the strike zone as a young pitcher, and Mark told me yesterday, sometimes young pitchers like himself give those major league hitters a little too much credit. We talked to him about the high expectations he's facing and how he's dealing with all that pressure.
I think it's been pretty easy, for me at least, because my main focus has always been on what goes on between the lines. You know, I'm more than willing to do the things that people want me to do as far as the media, you know, in the press, and giving interviews and talking to them about the hype that's there. But for me, my main focus every day when I come to the ballpark is to get my job done in the weight room, to get my job on the side, and get ready for what happens for me in between the lines. And once it's game day and I step over that line, you know, my main focus is to give them 6, 7, 8, 9, give them some innings, you know, where we can get to our bullpen, we can get to Farnsworth and Alfonseca, and give them a chance to win the game. And that's the only thing that my primary concern is, and I think that really helps me stay away from kind of getting wrapped up in everything that goes on around me off the field.
And don't give those big name hitters too much credit, huh?
Well, I mean, you respect them, and obviously there's a lot of credit to be given for what they've done. But like I said, once you step in the lines, you know, they have to respect what you can do out there because, you know, obviously with baseball, anybody can beat anybody on a given day, whether they're the last place team or versus the first place team. I mean, anything can happen. So as long as, you know, I obviously have great respect for them, and I'm hoping that they have respect for me, and we'll go from there.
Mark Pryor's got a good perspective on things right now. Last year, a big game for him is pitching against UCLA. Today, he's looking at Rafael Palmiero and Alex Rodriguez.
Well, when you're having to face those two, plus the other guys, especially Alex, and even though Alex has been slumping a little bit here lately, when you watch this guy play every day, not only is he a great offensive player, which is what he's known for, but he plays great defense. He's as good a shortstop in the game.
And Alex Rodriguez with those numbers despite a base hit last night that broke an 0 for 21. So he's been slumping, and these injured Rangers just trying to get everybody together back in that talented lineup of theirs. We've got a busy day for you in Chicago. In a little while, we'll have our baseball notebook. Kenny Rogers on fielding his position. He's one of the best. And speaking of that, the great Billy Williams joins us in the booth a little bit later.
Men think about women every 5.3 seconds.
Yesterday, a little cloudy overhead and very, very muggy. The ball should be flying at Wrigley Field today. Rangers and the Cubs, a walk-off homer by Alex Gonzalez, won it for Chicago last night. Sammy has hit 25 this year to lead the National League, and a historic homer for him on Friday night. Right here, straightaway center, and against the White Sox, it would be number 475 for Sammy. He steps into some brilliant company with that long ball. How about Willie Stargell of the Pirates, Stan Musial of the Cardinals, and we've got 4 400 home run guys in this series.
Well, this should be plenty of offense. When you look at this ballpark, you think that this is a bandbox, but it's actually a very big ballpark until the wind starts blowing out, and it looks like it's blowing out right now.
We're going to take a little bit of a break and give you some ESPN news. The Cubs and the Rangers are coming up. And for now, back to Scott Reese with the latest news of the day. Scott?
Bob and Jeff, thank you so much. We'll get you back to Wrigley Field in just a bit, but right now we want to bring in Tim Kirchin from baseball tonight. Barry Bonds got brushed back again last night, or should we say brushed forward, and he's mad because his pitchers are not sticking up for him. Does he have a beef?
Yeah, I think he does, and I think he's just really frustrated from years of being walked, years of being thrown at, years of being hit, and years of just pitchers not challenging him enough. When a rookie or a young guy like this throws behind him, I think Barry is absolutely tired. of seeing all of this, and I think this has something to do with Piazza Clemens. It has something to do with Bonds getting hit earlier in the season. It has to do with Clemens hitting Bonds. There's a lot involved.
It's not like the opposing pitchers can actually throw it over the plate to him, right? They got to do something with it.
I agree.
Speaking of the whole Clemens incident last weekend, Sean Estes fined $750 for throwing behind Roger Clemens. That's a real slap on the wrist now, isn't it?
Well, that would be a lot for me, but I don't think it is for Sean Estes. Now, I think all Major League Baseball is trying to do here is to make sure guys don't do this on purpose. It was clear that Sean Estes was throwing at him, but let's face it, it was a pretty feeble attempt. Nobody got hurt. It was down around your butt. We see a million pitches like this thrown per year, and nobody gets fined, and I just wonder if $750 sends any sort of message.
And quickly, Tim, Jack Buck passed away this morning at the age of 77. A real loss for baseball. What's your favorite Jack Buck story?
Well, I have a lot of them. I just remember in college sitting in my car listening to him on the radio from St. Louis, and I was thousands of miles away. I remember the poem that he read after September 11th at Busch Stadium. It was incredible, and I remember all sorts of Good Samaritan things he's done.
He will be missed. We are getting you back to Wrigley Field in just a bit. The pregame show continues. Alex Rodriguez hoping the friendly confines of Wrigley will prove to be just that. We're back in a flash on ESPN.
I played on the boys' golf team because there was no girls' team.
Join pitching. And if you're going to be a pitcher, you got to throw something besides a fastball. And every time he gets in trouble, that's what he goes to. He goes to that number one, and it ends up being bigger trouble than what he got himself into to start with. They're having a hard time. Hideki Arabu was closing for a little while. Now he says, well, I don't feel good closing. Maybe this wasn't the role for me. If you got a guy that's got an attitude like that in the ninth, you got some problems.
They could get Jeff Zimmerman back after the All-Star break, but by then maybe too little too late. Right now this team 14.5 games out in the American League West, and Tom Hicks has already come out and said, hey, maybe I spent too much money in the offseason. Might the Rangers cut some payroll before the deadline?
Well, I think that they will, and I think that they should. They've got some guys down in their minor league system. You see a Kevin Minch and a Ludwig up here now. These guys can swing the bat. It's just a matter of getting them out there. I think they need to get rid of some of these guys that are notorious for swinging the bat and get some guys that are actually getting it done and get themselves some pitching, because right now the pitching's killing them.
And not only that, they don't have a 300 hitter in the lineup with all that talent. Will the Texas fans accept this sort of payroll cut when they're used to seeing all these stars on the field?
Well, I think if you're a Texas fan, what you want to see is winning every day. And, you know, you've got a guy that's Alex Rodriguez at shortstop that plays every day for you. Every offensive statistic he seems to be excelling in. You need to build a team around him. But the only way you can build it around him is to get some guys that can pitch. Because if you don't pitch and play defense in this league or in this game, you're not going to win.
The Cubs almost as big a disappointment in the National League, 10 games under 500 entering today. There have been some rumblings that they might be looking to deal John Lieber, who is essentially an ace of the staff, along with Kerry Wood. Is that a good idea?
Well, if it's me, I don't trade John Lieber. I just think that he's the anchor of this staff. When you look at them, you've got Kerry Wood, you've got Mark Pryor, but these guys are still trying to learn how to pitch in this game. And I think Lieber is the guy that's your foundation. If you trade him away, you're asking for big problems with this staff.
Okay, Jeff, let's take a couple of quick email questions for you. First one is Chris in Albany. Do you think the Mets should give up on Jay Payton?
Well, Jay has had a very difficult time just not only swinging the bat, but playing in the outfield. And they've got a lot of guys that are having a hard time. If your team is winning, then you can afford to let this guy struggle a little bit and try to find his own way. But right now, I don't know how much time you can spend waiting on him to be the guy that they hoped he would be.
And Jay Payton may be more valuable as a fourth or fifth outfielder than what they could actually get for him, too. Wayne in Pittsburgh, do the Pirates have a chance to catch the Reds?
I don't think so. I think the Pirates are too young right now. I don't think they have enough offense. Brian Giles is really their only offensive threat at this point. Even Jason Kendall hasn't swung the bat like he has in the past. And, you know, in my mind, I just don't think there's any way that they're going to do it.
Well, the Cubs would like to catch the Reds, but they've got some work to do, and they'll try to start getting it done today against the Rangers. Jeff Brantly, thank you so much.
All right.
That'll do it for this installment of the ESPN News pregame show. Want to get you back to Wrigley Field for all the action. Cubs and Rangers, Burba and Pryor. Now back to Bob Carpenter.
Thank you, Scott Reese. Gorgeous day on the north side of Chicago. And the Cubs and the Texas Rangers getting together. Another one of those sort of unlikely pairs in this year of crossover interleague play. And we've talked about Rafael Palmiero, who was with the Cubs in '86. That's when he came up in September. A young Sammy Sosa hit his first major league homer for the Texas Rangers back in '89. And a former teammate of yours, Jeff, the veteran Dave Burba, goes for the Rangers today.
Well, Burbs is not the same pitcher that he was when I played with him in San Francisco and Cincinnati, but He's still got that veteran presence on the mound. He may not throw the ball 96 miles an hour anymore, but he knows how to pitch.
Mark Pryor, 2-1, very good, 3.77 earned run average in his first 5 major league starts, and one of those was a combined shutout when he really pitched a gem up at Safeco Field in Seattle.
Well, Pryor has got notoriety for rising to the occasion in a big ball game, not only in college but now in the big leagues. But the thing that he's got to do, he's got to learn how to pitch and how to use his fastball along with his breaking ball. He's got a great fastball, but he's got to learn how to mix it up a little bit.
Jeff Brantly pitched for the Cardinals a few years ago. I grew up in St. Louis, and everybody that has any connection to the Cardinals or the Midwest at all is thinking about Jack Buck today. We lost Jack last night at the age of 77. Our condolences go out to his wife Carol, son Joe, a broadcast colleague of ours, and the rest of the Buck family. And he's a man who will be missed. The Cubs will be paying tribute to him shortly, and it'll be a week of tribute coming up in St. Louis, as they will pay tribute to Jack tomorrow. His casket will be at home plate at Busch Stadium starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning up until game time tomorrow. There's the hey hey of a great broadcaster here in Chicago, the former great Jack Brickhouse. And of course, he preceded a man who worked with Jack Buck, and that's Harry Carey. Jack broke in with the Cardinals in 1954 with Harry at the microphone beside him. And Harry went on to Oakland and then the White Sox and then the Cubs, and Jack stayed in St. Louis, and for 48 years he has entertained Cardinal fans. And Jeff Brantly, you got to know Jack Buck well. He's a man we will all miss dearly.
Well, when you listen to guys on the radio and the TV, you recognize them by their voice, not just by their face, and Jack was as good as there's ever been.
Here's the tribute to Jack.
Great sports announcers of all time, Hall of Fame broadcaster Jack Buck, who started calling games for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1954 when he joined Harry Carey in the radio booth. His accomplished career also included broadcast duties for the 1965 All-Star Game, numerous World Series games, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, and 17 Super Bowl games. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame broadcast wing in 1987 and honored by the Professional Football Hall of Fame in 1996. At this time, we ask to please rise and join us in a moment of silence to remember the great voice of the St. Louis Cardinals, Jack Buck.
Jack Buck spent many a day and evening in this booth right next to us over here watching the Cardinals battle the Cubs. With Jack in mind, it's time for a baseball game a few minutes from now.
ESPN's Major League Baseball is brought to you by Samsung. The amazing world of Samsung Digital. Everyone's invited.
Well, from the fountains of the Loop up north to Wrigley Field. Good crowd gathering for day baseball here at one of baseball's most venerable sites. Wrigley Field's been around since April 23rd of 1914. Only Fenway, 2 years older, has been around longer. Fenway opening on the 20th of April in 1912. And there's Jerry Naren's second year as the manager of the Rangers. Took over for Johnny Oates last year. Went 62-72. That's a ball club that finished 16 games under 500 a year ago and 43 behind Seattle. The Rangers are only 7th in the league in hitting, 8th in runs, 5th in home runs. When they are healthy, they are loaded. Juan Gonzalez is not in there today, but Herbert Perry, who used to play in this town for the White Sox, has been swinging a pretty good bat.
Well, not only has he swung a good bat, he's playing great defense at third base. I was talking with Terry Francona and Jerry Naren before the ball game, and both of them made the comment, I'd love to have 25 Herbert Perrys on my ball club. And this is a guy, when he was in Cleveland, said had such a hard time staying healthy, but now that he's healthy, he's having a fun time playing. Swinging the bat great, playing some great defense.
And walking to the mound for his 6th major league start, Mark Pryor. He won't be 22 until September 7th. He's got everything you're looking for in a pitcher. Sammy will, of course, give everybody a smile out in the bleachers, making his traditional run out to center field. Does any group of fans love a local player more than the Cubby fans love Sammy Sosa?
I don't think so. We were talking to Kevin Minch before the ball game. I told him, I said, when you run out to right field today, I said, make sure you do the peace sign and give the kisses and everything. He said, I don't think so.
Well, Sammy having another great year. The problem is his teammates are not. One of his young teammates, though, pretty good. And Mark Pryor has everything you're looking for. 6'5", 225, throws hard, and he's proven to us he's got a very solid head on that shoulder as well.
Well, he's very confident in his ability, and he should be. I mean, a guy that throws a mid to upper 90s fastball, and he's got all the tools, the pitches that he needs to be successful up here. What he needs to do right now is use his fastball on both sides of the plate and not just throw it right down the middle and challenge guys with it. What he's going to figure out over a period of time is that doesn't matter how hard you throw it, if you don't put it on the corners, they're going to hit it and hit it a long way.
Don Baylor, manager of the Cubs, has seen some pretty good pitchers in his time. He startled us a little bit yesterday with a very good comparison he made to another great young pitcher.
Comes out, sits on the bench the days he's not pitching, watches the game, studies the hitters, knows what he wants to do, and he always stays within himself. Doesn't like to throw harder. You know, some of those guys you walk up and you face a big name guy, you feel like you want to rear back and throw a little bit harder. Haven't seen that with him.
And the name that Don Baylor invoked was that of a young Roger Clemens, not just because of the power, but also some of those things up in the head and in the heart as well.
Well, there's certain things that you can teach on the mound. You can teach a guy how to hold a fastball, how to pitch to certain hitters, but the one thing that you can't teach is intestinal fortitude. You either have it or you don't, and according to Don Baylor, this kid's got it, because if he's comparing him to Roger Clemens, you're comparing him to one of the best.
Cubbies defensively 10th in the league with 46 errors on the year. The outfielders in this ballpark will really bunch people toward the gaps, and really where Alou and Sosa, we have them positioned on that graphic, that's about how far off the line they get. And with the young pitcher on the mound today, Jeff, you've got to have a good veteran catcher to take care of things.
Well, there's no better catcher in either league that calls a game as good as Joe Girardi. I mean, if I've got a young pitcher on the mound that I know that I want to teach him how to pitch in this game and how to learn the batters in this league, you can't have a better guy back there than Joe Girardi. He handles them very well, keeps him under control, makes sure that he makes his pitches and mixes up his pitches. What a perfect spot. What a perfect guy to be able to throw to as a rookie pitcher.
Mike Lamb's in left field for the Rangers today, normally an infielder who plays over at the hot corner. Bill Miller is shallow at third for the leadoff man, and here's the first pitch of the game. A fastball misses away.
It sounds funny saying Mike Lamb in left field. I've always known him as a third baseman, but when you hit the ball as well as he does, you got to find a place for him in the lineup.
7th round draft choice 5 years ago out of Cal State Fullerton, where he drove in 70 runs one year. He was a third baseman and a catcher at Fullerton. And the 2-0 pitch. A pretty good rip.
Well, they've actually, last year they tried him in a lot of different positions simply because they weren't going to be able to play him at third every day, because third base on this ball club, they were looking for some more power than what he was providing. So they let him catch a little bit, but catching it's a little different catching in the big leagues than it is catching in college.
Games go a little faster for one thing.
A lot faster.
The 2-1 pitch. And Pryor poured one in at the letters. Juan Gonzalez not in the lineup today, as we mentioned. He's had a hand that's still bothering him. And that does not include Frank Catalanato with back problems. Carl Everett with a strained left hamstring trying to make his way back. Lamb reaches out and strokes one beautifully to right field. And then, of course, maybe the Rangers' most hard-nosed player, a real fan favorite down in Arlington, Rusty Greer. He's been on the DL since June 7th with a bone bruise and a hyperextended back. These Rangers have not had everybody in their lineup healthy one single day together this year.
Well, they've got a lot of talent on this ball club from an offensive standpoint, and they just haven't had the guys out there. And even when they've had them out there, they haven't had somebody at the top of the order, whether it's Rusty Greer or Frank Catalanato, that can get the engine started. These guys have some great RBI history behind them, but if you've got nobody on base to drive in, it's tough to get those RBIs.
Good to see Ivan Rodriguez back in the lineup. Pudge has played 22 games this year, has not hit a homer, driven in 9. And he's coming back from a herniated disc in his back. Had him sidelined April 15th until June 7th. Danny Wheat, the Ranger trainer, may be their MVP for the first half of the season. This ball well hit to the gap in left center. We'll take a look at Lamb as he heads for third. Steve Smith will hold him there with nobody out. And cruising in with a double, Rodriguez. The Rangers have second and third, nobody out.
Well, facing this lineup for Mark Pryor is going to be a tough test for him from a pitching standpoint, because he's going to just rear back and throw his fastball. And you see this fastball here. It's right down the middle to a guy, Pudge Rodriguez, who is a fastball hitter. Pudge comes off the bench swinging. I'm surprised that he took the first pitch, because he likes to swing at that first pitch. But this club, this Texas club, is a fastball hitting club. They're going to come out swinging the bats. And if he doesn't mix it up, it's going to be a short day for Mark Pryor.
Alex Rodriguez is next. First base open. Yeah, pick your poison here. If you pitch around him, you've got the left-hander, Rafael Palmiero, next.
3-run homer, a grand slam.
That's right. Palmiero homered here last night.
Or did he?
Or did he? We thought the ball was foul, and I still think it's foul. All the fans in the right field corner thought so when Rafael, in his first at bat here since being a Cub, hit one out right down the line. Laz Diaz, the home plate umpire, was the first base umpire who made that call last night. Now quickly it's 0-2 on A-Rod. A base hit last night broke an unusual streak for him. 5 games, entire games, without a hit for only the second time in his career. As we mentioned, he was 0 for 21, but this year he is hitting .397 with runners in scoring position. High heat, and he struck him out.
Well, very rarely are you going to see Alex Rodriguez get shut down on 3 straight pitches, but when you can throw the ball 97 miles an hour and you throw it up there when it's 0-2, not too many guys are going to catch it.
Now maybe you can be a little more careful with Palmiero that you've gotten that first out.
Well, he's going to have to, because you're not going to be able to throw the ball by Rafi, because he's dead red fastball hitter, very similar to Pudge, and he's going to have to mix it up a little bit. If he tries to throw that high fastball to Rafi, especially if it's inside, they may need to get another ball.
Cubs obviously scouting him as a dead pull hitter. Fouled straight back. Alex Gonzalez on the right field side of second base. And that ball in the first inning last night right down the line in right field. When flashing by the pole, watch the fans down in the corner. They all thought it was foul. Sammy thought it was foul. And from that replay, it appeared the ball disappeared behind the pole, which would have it on the wrong side. Don Baylor talked it over with Angel Hernandez, who was the home plate umpire last night, and Laz Diaz, who was working first base, to no avail. Cubs came back and won it bottom of the 9th on the Alex Gonzalez walk-off homer.
It's kind of a nice welcome back to Wrigley, huh?
Mm-hmm. Palmiero was their first-round draft choice in '85. He was with the Cubs '86 through '88.
He came to the Cubs. Me and Will went to the Giants. It seems like it was yesterday.
All these Mississippi State guys all over the place. And a pretty good roster out of Starkville you were part of, buddy.
Those were the days.
Bobby Thigpen, another guy who pitched in this town, a reliever for the White Sox, also a Mississippi State alum.
The other side of town.
There's a big difference, isn't there?
Yeah, I heard that. I don't think they get crowds like this over there. Not that I've ever seen.
2 balls, 1 strike. Second and third, 1 out. And Pryor trying to keep it away from Palmiero. This could be one of those unintentional intentional walks. They'd be crazy to throw him a fastball down the middle. And Herbert Perry, a good hitter, as Jeff mentioned a few moments ago. But you'd rather take your chances with him, bases loaded, than to groove one here.
Well, history would say so.
And he throws a fastball way high to load the bases. Jeff, anything you've spotted early that would be a key to the struggles of Mark Pryor?
Well, when I'm just watching some of Mark on tape, this is the first time I've actually seen him in person, but when he throws, a lot of time he drops his elbow, especially on his breaking ball. And you see some of his pitches that are riding up high. A lot of times when you throw the ball hard, you can get away with that a little bit. But when you're having to make a pitch in crunch time, if you drop your elbow, the ball's going to ride up or your breaking ball is going to hang high. And this is the kind of club, this Texas ball club I'm talking about. When you leave the ball up in the zone, they're going to hammer you.
Herbert Terry having a huge June. It's the 19th of June. He has 18 RBIs in 16 games this month. 6 for his last 15, couple of homers and 7 RBIs in the Rangers' current road trip. And the veteran catcher out to settle down the rookie pitcher.
Well, you can watch Pryor right here as he lets go of the ball. You can see his elbow as it drops down. And you see the ball just ride straight up. And the thing about it is when you throw the ball that hard, sometimes what you're thinking is, I'll bring my elbow down a little bit to try to get the ball down in the zone. But it's exactly the opposite. You get your elbow up and you throw downhill, not on a flat plane.
And if you're thinking about a good strike to ball ratio as at least 2-to-1, he's now under 1-1. 8 strikes, 9 balls with that one, and the count goes 2-0. And Don Baylor paces nervously in that dugout. Way outside and high, ball 3. So if you walk Palmiero, that's fine. But if you walk this guy, you're really creating a hole for yourself.
Well, if you walk this guy, you're giving a run away.
He got the high strike. Herbert Perry didn't think so.
That was a gift.
The very corner under the roof of the strike zone, if you will.
Right. Well, this ball is supposed to be away, and you see where it ends up and in. That's not a strike, but 3-0. Hey, what are you going to do? Thank you very much.
Cubs back looking for a ground ball to end this inning. He throws it by him to fill the count 3-2.
See that pitch right there? That's the kind of pitch you want. 3-1. You throw the ball right on the outside corner, keep the ball down, and when you're throwing the ball as hard as he is, all you want to do is just move the ball from one side of the plate to the other and just don't let him guess on you.
Mike Lamb single to lead off the game. Ivan Rodriguez doubled. 1 out later, Rafael Palmiero walked. Bases loaded, 1 out, and a payoff pitch. He missed up and away, not by much. And the Rangers get a run on a bases loaded walk. And for Herbert Perry, another June RBI. His 19th of the month.
Well, when you're throwing the ball 97 miles an hour, you don't need to be too fine. And right here, Pryor's just trying to nip on that outside corner. It's 3-2. You got the bases loaded. Get the ball over the plate, and let's see what the hitter can do. It's the first time he's ever seen you. Use that to your advantage. That's the one thing the young pitchers don't realize is that hitters have a very difficult time facing you for the first time. They need to see some pitches over and over again before they can actually time you. And that goes for a guy that's throwing the ball 89 miles an hour, much less 97 miles an hour, which is what Pryor's throwing today. Throw the ball over the plate, make the guys swing the bat.
Former big league manager Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach for Don Baylor. Cincinnati for a number of years was Larry. Interesting story, because the Rangers pitching coach is Oscar Acosta, who was fired by the Cubs right after the season ended last year, despite a marked improvement in their pitching staff. In fact, the pitchers thought so much of Oscar, and strike 1 to Kevin Mench, they put together a going away party for him as a staff. They were so sad to see him go.
Well, Oscar's one of those guys that he stands up for his pitchers no matter what the manager thinks or what the general manager thinks. And when you're on a staff like that, you like your coach to be that way.
0-2 now to Kevin Mench, rookie right fielder. Well, the Rangers have improved a bit. Only the Royals have a higher ERA now than Texas. But last year, 5.71. They were last in the American League in runs, home runs, 9th in strikeouts, and they walked more batters than anybody else in the American League, almost 600. So he has brought some of those numbers down. High heat, and Mench is gone on 3 pitches, 2 outs. Kind of a typical first inning for a young rookie power pitcher, isn't it? His only strikes or his only outs are strikeouts, and he's walked a couple of guys.
Well, and the guy that he's striking out is also a rookie hitter. And the thing about it is when you're throwing balls up in the zone like that and you've got a rookie guy at the plate, he's trying to drive runs in. He wants to make a name for himself so you can work out of the zone. But you see the veteran hitters, they're not biting. You got to be able to throw strikes.
Gabe Kapler, a 2-out bases loaded chance. He's been battling some knee problems. And they have turned off the power switch. The injuries have for Gabe Kapler. No home runs in 54 games this year, spanning 164 at-bats. One career grand slam. And suddenly Pryor unable to miss the strike zone, just barely misses inside.
That's a good pitch right there. But the thing about it is when you're all over the place and you're throwing the ball up and down and in and out, you throw a pitch that's right borderline, you're not going to get that call. If you're around the strike zone a lot, you're going to get more calls than you are if you're all over the place.
Low, ball 2.
And you were talking about Kapler's power earlier. The thing for Gabe, what he's trying to do is to get his swing back where he feels comfortable in the box. The guy's strong. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark, but if you're not comfortable in the box and you don't feel good about your swing, it's very difficult to cut it loose and try to drive the ball.
18, 14, and 17 home runs his last 3 years with the Tigers, and 2 with the Rangers. 2-1. May have broken his bat. Pryor knocks it down. Easy play at first. And Mark Pryor will do well to get out of that first inning with only 1 run scored after the bases were loaded with only 1 out. Nothing like a beautiful summer day at Wrigley Field in Chicago. ESPN Major League Baseball from the home of the Cubs. And Don Baylor, his 9th Major League season as a manager. He was in Colorado for 6 years. Took the Rockies to their only playoffs, the wild card in '95. And his lineup is last in the major leagues, hitting .238. You take Sammy out of this lineup and you've got a whole lot of nothing right now, except that Corey Patterson and now Bill Miller each have 5-game hitting streaks.
Well, they've got a lot of guys that are supposed to guys with Freddie McGriff and Moises Alou. But the guy that I think is a real key to this lineup is Bill Miller. He hits from both sides of the plate. And it's early in the season with his knee problems. He wasn't getting to play as much and his timing was off. If you get this guy out there and he can play every day, not only is he a good third baseman, but he can do some stuff at the top of that lineup and get on base for a guy like Sammy Sosa.
35-year-old veteran Dave Burba with 108 major league wins. And 3-4 right now. High ERA of 5.5. First inning has been his nightmare. He has a first inning earned run average of 12.64.
I asked him before the ball game today. We were talking about some old times. I said, why don't you just warm up an extra 15 minutes so you can pretend that the first inning is not happening?
On one of the Ranger telecasts recently, they put up the line score and they deliberately took off the first inning. They just started the ball game in the second to show he was pretty good after that. Out goes Corey Patterson to short. Alex Rodriguez throws him out. Corey Patterson can fly down that line. Rangers defensively 6th in the league. They have one of the great catchers of all time with 10 Gold Gloves behind home plate.
When you look at Pudge Rodriguez, he does all the things well behind the plate that you see from a fan's viewpoint. He hustles all the time, swings the bat well. He's got probably the best arm that I've seen from the catcher's position. And he does a lot of things, you know, blocking the balls behind the plate very well.
But as we mentioned earlier, hasn't played that much because he's been hurt. Only his 23rd game of the year. You know how many runners have tried to run on him? 6. They don't try it very often.
Well, when you run on Pudge, he's going to throw you out. The one thing that is his weakness, though, is his ability to work with the pitchers. And I think that he's trying. I talked with him a little bit about it today because I got on him earlier because I didn't think he was working with the pitchers enough. And he said that was the one thing that he was really trying to do a lot more was get in the meetings, find out what the pitchers are doing, what they like to do, and what they do well. And it makes your ball club better and it makes your staff better. Because if you got guys that are comfortable throwing to you, they're going to be better pitchers.
Bill Miller on 2-1. He looks at a fastball on the corner. This guy coming back healthy. He's had all kind of problems since he busted that knee up in St. Louis last year. He's only batting .225, but he's got a 5-game hitting streak. Out to second. To his right, Michael Young. 2 quick outs for Dave Burba. And here comes Sammy. Over the years, there's been a debate raging, Jeff, whenever people talk about the Cubs. Is day baseball good? Do you have to get up too early? You know, players get into a routine where they like to work late and sleep in. Doesn't seem to bother Sammy. Of his career home run total, 266 have been hit during day games. So he seems to be able to respond no matter what time the clock says. I've always found that to be an interesting debate. You know, people looking for reasons why the Cubs haven't been to the World Series in so many years. What, 57 years now?
Consecutive day games are not the problem. It's day games after a night game. If you're at the ballpark till 1 o'clock in the morning, you finish the game at 11:30. By the time you get a shower and get dressed and get out of there, it's 1 o'clock by the time you get back to the house. If you've got to be at the ballpark the next day at 9 o'clock, 9:30 to take batting practice, it's difficult. But if you're playing consecutive day games where you have a normal schedule, it's not that big a deal. We did that in San Francisco. It's not a problem.
Sammy goes deep to right field. If it's fair, it's gone. Gone into the corner. And that's number 476.
I was just fixing to say maybe Burbs is going to have a quick first inning.
Not with Sammy batting third. He passes Stan Musial and Willie Stargell. His 26th homer of the year. And how about Sammy? He's been hitting a lot of his home runs, 16 of those now this year, to the opposite field.
Well, when Sammy's going the other way, it's a very difficult out. A lot of times you'll get pitchers that will face Sammy where they won't face Bonds because Sammy has a propensity to strike out. When Sammy's hitting the ball the other way, he's not going to strike out too much.
Red McGriff is next. Number 476, another 400 home run man. McGriff in the ballpark. Red is at 459. Not nearly on the pace Sammy is, though. 11 this year, 44 batted in.
That ball got out of here in a hurry.
That it did.
Like a left-hander hit that ball.
And he had some slice on it, but he hit it so hard it didn't have time to slice foul. And you know, when you hit the ball down the line, Jeff, at Wrigley Field, there really aren't any cheap home runs. It's 353 down the line in right, 355 in left. You can sneak a few cheapies into the basket in right center and left center.
Well, I was talking to Minch before the ballgame. You see a lot of times where the balls are hit down the right field line or the left field line, and the outfielders never get to it. It seems like it just expands out there.
That ball fouled off McGriff's legs. Funny little configuration down there, 353. In fact, when you see triples in this ballpark, they're down the line. Usually a ball hit to the gap is only a double.
But you see there is absolutely no foul ball space down that line. It's either fair or it hits the wall.
Or else you're part of the wall.
Yeah.
Trying to make the play. In the dirt, 3-2 to McGriff. Moises Alou on deck. Cubs have hit their 77th home run. Only the Diamondbacks with 79 and the Giants with 78 have hit more in the National League. But that's the all or nothing Cubs. They usually only score when they hit a home run. Coming into this series, Sammy Sosa hitting well over 300. His teammates were hitting 228. And there's the career list as he makes his climb. Lou Gehrig is next. And then a date with 500. McGriff lines one up the middle and hit the mound and scooted right on through. That'll get Moises Alou to the plate with 2 outs, bottom of the first.
Moises has actually started to swing the bat a lot better. Him and Miller both. And these guys have both got to be able to swing the bat and have some consistent production if this Cubs ball club is going to get back into the race. They've got a chance to compete with the Cardinals simply because they've got some young pitching and some young arms. But if Moises Alou and Freddie McGriff and Bill Miller don't hit, no chance.
Don Baylor going into the series wanting to be very cautious. The Cardinals are here for 3 this weekend. He wants them to play very well against Texas and then worry about St. Louis. Palmiero never saw the ball, and the ball was caught by the pitcher, Dave Burba. Rafael Palmiero completely lost it. It's what we call a high sky today. It's cloudy overhead, no really sunshine, and you can't see the ball. I think Sammy saw this one pretty well. 1-0, rather 1-1 now on number 476. First pitch, top of the second, and Michael Young fouls one out of play. More on the adventure of Dave Burba in a second. Hazy day over the north side of Chicago. The Sears Tower in the distance, John Hancock Tower on your left. Two of the great Chicago landmarks on Lake Michigan. Fastball inside.
Is there a better place to play baseball in the summer than Wrigley Field? I don't think so.
You wonder what it would be like if the Cubs ever won and won big. What would this city do?
Mania.
They're so tired of saying wait till next year. Right now the Cubs are 10 games under 500.
What a parade that would be.
Michael Young fouls one away. He came to the Rangers 2 years ago in July in the Esteban Loaiza deal from Toronto. Originally a 5th-round draft choice by the Blue Jays in '97. He drove in 49 runs for the Rangers last year in 106 games. And as you mentioned earlier, Jeff Brantly, they've got some live young bats out of their system now playing with the Major League club.
Well, they've got a lot of guys in their minor leagues that can swing.
High strike, and Young is gone. Laz Diaz has that high strike zone going today. And for Mark Pryor, the 3rd strikeout in the 4 men he's retired. And here's Dave Burba, a 143 career hitter, and not a bad fielder, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, he had to be a fielder here. Palmiero's got his glasses on his hat, doesn't see the ball because of the sky's cloudy, and Burbs has to make a super play to catch that ball.
Dave Burba can swing the bat a bit. Now Rafael's going to put the glasses on. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
He had them on his cap during that play when he couldn't find the ball.
He's cleaning them off and putting them on now. A little late.
0-2 quickly to Burba.
If you're watching at home, this is not how you swing the bat. This is a pitcher, but he gets everything out of his swing. This guy totally cracks me up when he's swinging because he's trying to hit it on the street.
He's hit 3 Major League home runs, 25 career hits, a lot of time in the National League, and a big off-speed breaking ball makes him look bad.
Well, I can't say that I hit a home run, but I can say I did not look like that swinging.
That was Balin right there.
Oh, that was Balin, all right. Oh my goodness. Well, if you watch Burbs,
you're gonna swing. You're gonna swing for us. Let's see your swing.
My swing is not like this. That's what he's doing. Pitchers can hit, but they just don't look good doing it.
Okay. Well, bases empty, 2 outs.
Oh goodness.
Well, later we have Kenny Rogers on fielding and Jeff Brantly on hitting. This could be a scary day. Well, it's upstairs to Mike Lamb.
If you're doing me hitting, it will be scary, but it won't look like Burbs did.
Little guy with dad at the ballpark. Wednesday afternoon in June. School is out. Going to watch the Cubbies play. What could be better for a Chicago kid? First place, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she realizes her Cubs are 10 games under 500 and 10 games behind the surging Cardinals.
They don't care. They're just at the ballpark having a great day.
It's down low to the number 3 hitter in this inning, Mike Lamb. Base hit first time up. He scored on the bases loaded walk to Herbert Perry. Double by Ivan Rodriguez set up the inning. He got jammed out of play to left side. Wrigley Field seats 39,111. I took a little walk out of the press box down some of the ramps last night. The ballpark looked full to me. And then you go out in the concourses, there's another 4,000 or 5,000 people roaming around aimlessly. You wonder how many they really get in here.
Standing room only.
And then, of course, the folks across the street on the rooftops.
For now.
A story unto itself.
Yeah.
As the Cubs are trying to capitalize on revenue in their ballpark and maybe blocking the view of some of those folks in years to come, and they're not happy about it here in the Wrigley Field neighborhood at Clark and Addison.
Why would you mess with something that works as good as this?
Money.
Yeah.
3-2 pitch, way inside, and a 2-out walk to Lamb. So no pitcher's been able to get a 1-2-3 inning yet, and that's walk number 3 for Mark Pryor.
2-out walks, get your manager fired, and give your pitching coach ulcers.
Don Baylor, great baseball man. Under a little fire here in Chicago. Some people think he needs to show a little more fire, but I can tell you, when that guy was a player, he was one of the great competitors in the game, and he did nothing but play for winning teams. He went to 7 league championship series and 3 World Series in his days with the Orioles, the A's, the Yankees, the Angels, the Red Sox, the Twins, and Oakland again. All-star game with California in '79. He hit 338 home runs, and Don Baylor was hit by 267 pitches in his major league career.
I don't know how that felt.
I mean, he knew what Advil was long before Nolan Ryan. 0-2.
Well, you see Pudge here. The first pitch was a breaking ball in the dirt. He takes a good swing at it, and that pitch was a high fastball. But Pudge, I said this earlier, Pudge comes to the plate to swing, and if you make a mistake, he is going to punish it. If Pryor doesn't make a good pitch here, 0-2, he is going to crush it.
And he's due for his first home run of the year. Had to reach a little bit. 23rd game for Pudge. And he's had 84 at-bats.
Thing about Pudge, when you have 2 strikes, you normally would say, okay, I'm gonna take this pitch and start it on the outside corner and break it off the plate. Well, with him, you start it off the plate and break it way off, because he's not a big guy, but he will reach it. He's as strong as you can. I mean, he's strong as an ox. The ball that may be 6 inches off the plate away, he can reach it and he can drive it.
What a great number that is. 7 years over 300. A little bit outside from Pryor, ball 1. His career average into the season 304. American League MVP in '99 when he hit 332 and drove in 113 runs. A Johnny Bench-like season. The man who he shares the distinction of 10 Gold Gloves with. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss on some high heat. Mark Pryor has retired 6 batters in this game. He has struck out 5 of them. 1-1 in the second. Great shots today of Wrigley Field surrounding area from the Saturn Lightship. The team at Saturn hopes you enjoy the game and the view today. The newest blimp in North America. 165 feet long, 150,000 cubic feet of helium. That could even raise Jeff Brantly's voice a bit. We go bottom 2 and a base hit to lead off by Alex Gonzalez, last night's home run hero. He hit a walk-off homer last night to win it for the Cubs in a low-hit ball game on both sides, 4-3. ESPN's coverage of Wednesday baseball. Wrigley Field, Chicago. The Cubs meeting the Texas Rangers from the American League West. Jeff Brantly alongside. I'm Bob Carpenter with Peter Pasquarelli and our ESPN crew. And beautiful shots from the Saturn Lightship. Next up, the veteran catcher Joe Girardi, who's an Illinois guy. Joe came home to play for the Cubs. He was a 5th-round draft choice for them back in '86. Was with the Cubbies 89 to 92. And some great times with the Yankees. 3 World Series with New York. Some serious rings to show for that time with Joe Torre. He had a couple different ball clubs he was looking at coming back to the Midwest. The Cardinals showed some interest in Joe Girardi at that time. And he decided to come back to the Cubbies.
Girardi and Matheny are very similar in their approach to the game and their benefits that they bring to the ball club.
Yeah, Mike Matheny went on to win a Gold Glove for St. Louis.
Both of these guys are, Matheny and Girardi I'm talking about, are not exactly the offensive sluggers that you would have in a Pudge Rodriguez or a Hundley when he's going well, but the thing that they bring to the ball club is they make your pitching staff better than what it was before they got there. A lot of managers love that.
Runner going. Ground ball fair into the left field corner. Alex Gonzalez digging for third. He will score as Gene Glenn sends him. Runner decides not to slide. Umpire almost in the way, and Chicago leads it 2-1. A perfect hit-and-run grounder inside the line by Joe Girardi.
Well, normally a hit and run is supposed to be hit to the right side to move the run up, to move the runner up. But this ball here looks like a breaking ball from Burba. Girardi gets out in front a little bit, and the one thing that you've got to do is just make contact, and that's what Girardi does there. Finds a hole down the third base line, ends up with a double and an RBI.
Yeah, make sure you hit the ball on the ground. At worst, you stay out of the double play.
Right.
And at best, you have an RBI double.
Exactly.
And here's Delino DeShields batting in the number 8 spot for the Cubs. DeShields goes the other way with a fair ball into the corner. Girardi will cruise on home. Delino into second base. And Chicago puts 3 hits together. Cubs lead it 3-1.
Well, offense is what this Cubs ball club needs, especially from a guy like Delino DeShields, because he was hitting in the second spot for a long time. They brought up Bobby Hill to play second base, take Delino's spot. You see this here with Delino hitting the ball the other way. That's how he's been his whole career, being able to drive the ball into the left field line, left center field gap. Tell you what, if he gets hot with the rest of these guys, they're going to have a fun time here in Chicago.
Well, DeShields came into that at bat hitting only 193. Palmiero to talk to Burba. Pudge Rodriguez as well. Delino got his 6th RBI of the year after Joe Girardi got just his 3rd. And this would be a perfect time for Mark Pryor's first major league sacrifice bunt.
Well, really all he's got to do here is bunt the ball to third base. You want the third baseman to charge in to move DeShields to third base. But from a right-handed standpoint, that's one of the toughest things to do is bunt the ball on that side.
So he lays down a beauty on the first base line with an outside pitch. It stayed fair. I got up on that grass, so it didn't go foul. And DeShields over to third base with 1 out.
That's the one thing that you can't see from the television viewpoint is the height of this grass. But if you get the ball on the grass, it's going to stay there. And right there, he makes a good bunt. The ball's away from him. Instead of trying to pull it down the third base line and possibly fouling off, he just goes with the pitch, lays it down just fine. DeShields moves to third base, and he gets to have a little rest in the dugout.
Guys who played here at Wrigley Field will tell you that grass here is like U.S. Open or PGA rough.
It is.
Sometimes the ball gets down in there on a bunt, and the only thing you can see is the very top of it. Now the infield's in. Runner at third, 1 out for Corey Patterson, who had a big night last night. He had a double, would have had a triple, but he fell down between second and third, and then later he hit a 2-run homer. This is another guy the Cubs are waiting on. Batting average in the mid-290s. His on-base average is mediocre in the 340 range. He was a first-round draft choice 4 years ago. 2-0 pitch. He looks at it over, but low, ball 3.
Part of learning how to be a leadoff hitter is the fact that you've got to take some pitches. You've got to be able to foul off the tougher pitches. But when you're a young player and you take pitches, you feel like you're getting behind in the count. You don't feel comfortable. But he's done a good job so far, I think, for this ball club. He was a guy in spring training. They were talking about the difference between him and Roosevelt Brown. Roosevelt Brown was supposed to be the hitter, and this guy was supposed to be the center fielder. But he's been able to do both so far.
Now the count's full. Burba needs the strikeout or the pop-up here, or a ground ball right at somebody.
Well, they've got the infield in. I know they're going to try to cut down DeShields at the plate. DeShields, he may be at the end of his career, but he can still motor a little bit.
Yes, he can. They put a contact play on with him last night. No contact here. They got a run on a bouncer over the pitcher's head. And Dave Burba picks a great time for his first strikeout of the game. Wednesday Night Baseball presented by Jiffy Lube. Your way tonight, doubleheader action, 7 Eastern. Garrett Anderson and the Anaheim Angels visit ex-Angel Jim Edmonds, Albert Pujols, and the Cardinals. Both teams battling atop their divisions. And then at 10 Eastern, Ryan Klesko and the Padres hosting Nomar and the Red Sox. Sox lead the Yankees by a game and a half in the AL East after both won yesterday. For Major League Baseball coverage, log on to ESPN.com. And there will be a different atmosphere at Busch Stadium in St. Louis tonight after the passing of Jack Buck last night. Cubs paid tribute to him, as Jeff and I did before the game today, and that will happen around a lot of Major League parks. But the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry has been a special thing for a lot of years, so they feel that here in Chicago. Bill Miller is a St. Louis kid from DeSmet High School. He lines one foul off to the left. He grew up in the St. Louis suburb of Maryland Heights, went down to Springfield to Southwest Missouri State. He'll be a free agent at the end of the season, and some people are saying, well, let's get Scott Rowland over here. Well, that's easier said than done looking at the money he's talking about. You know, he turned down $10 million from the Phillies a year. Cubs going to come up with that kind of money when they maybe have one of the most usable third basemen in baseball on their club already, who will not command nearly that much.
And the switch hitter.
He got jammed and fought it off. Bill Miller had a diamond or web gem here last night, diving to his left over at the hot corner of that diamond. He's a very good third baseman, coming back from knee problems.
And that takes a while. Everybody just thinks that just because your knee's fine, you can go out there and play. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of being comfortable again. It just takes a little while. But good players make an adjustment, and he'll do that.
Baseball Notebook in a few minutes with Kenny Rogers, one of the best fielding pitchers in all of baseball. A young man from Savannah, Georgia, will tell you how he fields his position out there on the mound. Kenny Rogers.
He'll be happy that you called him a young man, I guarantee you.
Well, compared to you and I, he is.
Oh, stop it.
Bill Miller hits the ball well to left field. A late break, but a catch by Mike Lamb. Cubs get 2 runs on 3 hits. They strand a runner, and they've left 2. After 2, Cubs lead it 3-1. Time for our Baseball Notebook. How to field your position, Kenny Rogers.
I feel like that my ability to field my position helps my teammates tremendously and myself, because I'm a ground ball pitcher, so I'm always prepared for the ball to come back at me or to one of the lines. I don't expect my third baseman or my first baseman to get the bunts or the little ground balls. So as a pitcher, I try and give them a chance to play it back a little further, because they know I'm going to be getting off the mound with anything that's coming short, to where they have the ability to cover more range for me on the corners, which without a doubt benefits me tremendously being a ground ball pitcher. I never try and field the ball unless it's right here like this, right in front of me. I like to do the backhand to this side or the forehand to this side. If I try and get a ball that's over here to me, trying to go like this kind of ties me up. But if I just rotate this way, it's much easier to backhand and just elevate your glove. For me, it works to finish correctly, to finish square. My footwork is just as big an asset as relaxation, because if my footwork's wrong, if I get kind of tangled up, if I'm landing incorrectly here when I finish, that means my footwork's going to be very poor, because I have no balance, no weight. I can't really transfer my weight as quick as I want to. So I try and finish square a little bit more than most, so when the ball's hit, I'm about here, I have either way to go. I have both my legs under me, I can push off either way. And like I said, once I get finished, when I know the ball's, if I read it to my left or to my right, I can, just a little weight shift one way or the other, gives me this much room or this much room. Instead of trying to go to the ball here, then I've only got to here. For all you kids out there, always want the ball to be hit back to you, and always be ready for it. And don't take it for granted that someone else is going to field the ball for you.
Well done, Kenny Rogers. Now, Jeff, defense by a pitcher seems to me to be one of those things that a guy could work hard on and make himself better year after year.
Well, I've never played with a guy that worked on his defense from a pitcher standpoint as much as Kenny did. When we were in spring training, he would go out on the last field at the complex and have one of the coaches hitting him fungos. I mean, hitting rockets at him on the mound, practicing and catching the ball. What he does is he has a little hop right after he releases the ball. And when he makes that hop, then they hit the ball right to him, and then he practices doing what he was talking about, backhanding the ball and diving for the ball. I never seen anything like it. There's no secret that he won the Gold Glove.
Greg Maddux, of course, longtime best in the National League. And Alex Rodriguez leads off top of the third for the Rangers. He struck out swinging first time up. Although we must note 4 other teammates have done the same thing. 5 strikeouts and 6 outs registered by the young fireballer Mark Pryor. High and tight, and A-Rod bending back a bit. That was a pretty effective 0-2 pitch.
Well, that's the benefit of being able to throw the ball with that type of velocity. Even if you make a mistake, it's very difficult to catch up with it when you're throwing the ball 97 miles an hour.
A lot more economical in that second inning, wasn't he? After a very long first inning when he gave up 2 hits. He had 2 walks. But a strikeout with 2 on, nobody out to A-Rod kept it from being a huge inning.
Well, he punched out A-Rod on 3 pitches. A breaking ball for a strike, fastball down and away, and he throws his high hard one right here. Alex just couldn't catch up with it.
That's a great 0-2 pitch taking him up the ladder, huh?
Well, especially after you've thrown a breaking ball for a strike. A hitter's got to be, you got to keep him honest with that.
A-Rod hangs in that time and takes it up the middle.
That was not a good 2-strike pitch.
What do you do wrong?
Breaking ball stayed right in the zone, and for a guy like Alex, when you've already beat him with a fastball, why do you throw a breaking ball over the plate for a strike? You see this pitch right here. I mean, this is a 2-0 breaking ball. This is not a 1-2 breaking ball. That's a strike. That's not what you want with 2 strikes. You want to start the ball on the corner and get it off. That ball starts in the middle and breaks to the corner, and Alex is too good of a hitter to let a pitch like that go by.
Leadoff hit for the Rangers. They've had 2 in the first 3 innings. Rafael Palmiero suddenly represents the tying run. He's hit 13 homers, driven in 37 this year, and a very uncharacteristic batting average of .266. Great jump by A-Rod. He caught the Cubs napping. And Alex Rodriguez swiping second base, his 5th steal of the year in 6 attempts.
Well, that stolen base will go against Girardi, but he stole the bag off of Pryor. You see this leg kick right here. Even though it looks like he's doing an abbreviated slide step, that's a long time between the time that his foot leaves the dirt, gets up, and he gets the ball to the plate. And you see Alex actually could have had even a better jump than what he got. And I think that's what Girardi just went out to talk to him about, because you can't just let a guy steal bags on you. Even though the score is 3-1, you just can't let guys run. Because if you give Girardi, just give him a little bit of time, he'll help you out. He'll throw some guys out for you.
Joe Girardi, 11 of 33 this year.
What a shift.
Palmiero seeing an outside pitch, tried to hook one into left field.
Didn't blame him. Well, you see the outfield is straight up, and the reason that they are is because when he hits the ball in the air, he can hit the ball all over the place. But when he hits the ball on the ground, very rarely does he hit the ball to the left side. When the ball's on the ground, he's going to pull it.
And Jeff, here's the other thing. These flags are really blowing. And when it's blowing out, there is a jet stream toward left center in this ballpark. You do not have to pull the ball to hit a home run. On an 0-2 pitch way inside, Palmiero turned on it. Don Zimmer used to say you have to manage 3 different seasons in Wrigley Field. In April and May when it's cold and the wind's blowing in. June, July, and August when it's warm and the wind's blowing out. And sometimes it shifts during the game. And then, of course, in September, it can go back to what it was in April or May. No balls, 2 strikes. We were talking to Don Baylor yesterday, noting the fact that in terms of managing in ballparks where it can be tough to manage a pitching staff, how about Don Baylor? 6 years in Colorado and now 3 years in Chicago. Ballparks that can be a nightmare for a manager and his pitching coach. Palmiero reaches out and flies one to center. Corey Patterson is under it. And that's a big first down with a runner at second base and no advancement.
Well, that's exactly what Pryor was wanting to do there, was get Palmiero to hit the ball like that. But the thing about it amazes me is sometimes when you get that big of a shift on and you have nobody on the left side of the infield, why are you throwing hard pitches away? Why are you throwing fastballs away? It seems to me that you would throw fastballs hard in and soft stuff away to get him to hit the ball on the ground or roll over it. That pitch there started in the middle of the plate and ran out over. Yes, he got the fly ball into center field for the out, but I just don't know that that's the way that you should have been pitching him in that situation.
Here's Herbert Perry, who walked with the bases loaded first time up. And Pryor gets ahead of him. Herbert Perry, 6 for his last 15. Played with the White Sox the last 2 years before this. He drove in 61 runs for the Sox in the year 2000. Tampa Bay before that.
Well, he's been in a few different places, but I know that when he came up with Cleveland, He was an outstanding hitter. He swung the bat very well, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And it was very difficult for him to get to an everyday job when you're not healthy and being able to play every day. So he ended up being a utility guy. Now he's had an opportunity since Blaylock didn't pan out at third base. He's going to actually get an opportunity to play every day at third base. He's swinging the bat as good as anybody on this ball club.
Did not play the entire 97 season because of a right knee problem. Did that one get him? Yes, it did, according to his reaction. And he's going to show the wrist to Las Diaz. Jerry Narin coming out to plead the case. Danny Wheat, the Texas trainer, is out there as well. They may have him take the glove off to see if there's some red on that hand or on that wrist.
Well, I will say this for Mark Pryor. Every time that he's had an 0-2 pitch today, he's come in. And when you're throwing the ball as hard as he does, that's what you've got to do, especially as a young pitcher. You've got to establish the fact that you will pitch inside and you keep guys from leaning out over the plate.
Well, the umpire is not sold. It looks like it got the bat. Real close to the top of that right hand. Jeff, you've been in these situations. You know there's a way that hitters can sell that to the umpire.
Well, the thing about it is, as you see on the replay, is you see his initial reaction from his face, and that's what tells me that the ball caught some part of his hand. Now, granted, the ball did hit the bat at the same time, but you look at his face as the ball makes contact with the bat, and you see him grimace. You can't fake that. You can't fake it that fast.
Yep.
That hurt.
And Las Diaz may be going on the sound of the ball hitting the bat. That's probably what determined his call of a foul ball instead of a hit batter. So the count is 0-2. Instead of first and second, one out for the Rangers.
Well, it seems to me there that the home plate umpire would at least appeal to Randy Marsh at first base and get some difference of opinion. But the first base umpire can't come in or very rarely comes in and offers his advice in a situation like that unless the home plate umpire asks for help. And he didn't ask for help at all. I don't know why.
The way Herbert Perry's going, he'll probably knock in a run anyway. Takes one way outside that has Girardi sliding. Herbert Perry is on pace for a 30 RBI month.
You saw that breaking ball right there, the 1-2 pitch. He left the breaking ball over the plate to Alex. That one, he made sure he got that ball out of the zone.
Mark Pryor's given up 1 run on 3 hits so far. The 1-2 pitch out to center. Pretty well hit. Corey Patterson back, and he will catch it right up against the ivy. A 400-foot fly ball and a long second out.
You see this drive right here. This ball is in dead center field. And I think Perry thinks that he's got him when he hits it. He's jogging out of the box. That ball's all the way to the wall. But Alex didn't tag right there. He could have tagged from second and moved to third. That ball was hit deep enough where he could have gotten from second to third on a tag. He was about halfway.
Kevin Mench, the batter, struck out first time up. Ground ball left side. And Bill Miller lets the runner saunter on by. Then he throws out the batter. Leadoff single and steal by A-Rod. And it doesn't hurt. Sammy Sosa with a home run already leads off in a moment. Herbert Perry evidently with the ball hitting his hand and the bat simultaneously and then flying deep for an out.
You see that grimace. I said that before. As soon as you see a hitter do that, Jerry's still arguing about it, but Diaz doesn't make the call. I think Jerry's asking why didn't he ask Randy Marsh at first base for some help.
Sammy Sosa leads off bottom of the third. First time up, Sammy goes opposite field for number 476.
Sammy doesn't get cheated when he gets up there, does he, Bill?
No, sir. His major league leading 26th home run of the year. You know, he came up with the Rangers in '89, a wiry little speed guy who could hit for some power. I was with some of the Texas guys during BP yesterday when Sammy came onto the field. They hadn't seen him in person in a while. They couldn't believe it was the same guy. Sammy Sosa so much bigger and stronger now. And let's go back to '89. That was at Fenway Park in Boston. Who would have thought he'd hit 475 more? I mean, look at that physique. He was a young greyhound.
I don't know if I've ever heard the term wiry in the same sentence with Sousa.
That's right. And the Texas Rangers traded him to the White Sox in a deal late in the '89 season for Harold Baines, Scott Fletcher, some other guys involved in that deal. And look at that. After leaving the Red Sox, Babe Ruth and the curse. And someday Sammy may be known as the curse of Slammin' Sammy, although we're talking about a team in a different league.
Yeah.
Not meeting as much, of course, as the Yankees and the Red Sox have so many times over the years. But the Rangers were looking for some veteran help. They were in a pennant race that year. They got the veteran bat of Harold Baines from the White Sox. They did not win, and the rest has been history for Sammy in the city of Chicago.
It's kind of like the Red Sox trading Bagwell for
Larry Anderson.
Right? Larry Anderson.
Sammy's been a Cub since 1992. 50 homers, 4 straight years. The only major leaguer with 63 times. They don't score that much at the World Cup, but it's been a great ride, hasn't it? The USA and Germany, the magical ride continues Friday morning at 7 a.m. That's a reasonable wake-up time to watch a Final 8 game at the World Cup. And don't forget ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC, your home for all World Cup action. And don't forget the great highlight show, World Cup Tonight. What a run by Bruce Arena and that club. And our guys to the quarterfinals for the first time since 1930. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Sammy, a swing and a foul. And really ever since ESPN's early days in 1979, when we televised a lot of college soccer, that sport has been very important to all of us at ESPN through a bunch of World Cups, most notably '94 when it was here in this country. We did the first game of the World Cup right downtown at Soldier Field. Inside ball 3 when the West Germans at that time played Bolivia. And here they are 8 years later, maybe a chance for sports ultimate prize. The 3-2 pitch. Sosa reaching. Burba hustling. Throwing into the runner. And we'll see how they rule it. Dangerous play for a first baseman reaching into the runner with that ball coming in. I would imagine Sammy will get some home cooking and get a base hit on that. We'll see. Or did they call it a foul ball? Did it hit him? It had some funny English on it.
Well, if it hits him in the box, it's a foul ball. If it hits him out of the box,
and it looks out. And Jeff, it looks like Las Diaz, and he was the umpire we were watching. He didn't do a thing. But it was third base umpire Angel Hernandez who came in to help out and called that a foul ball.
Well, you see that? Yeah, it hit right on the wrist while he's still in the box. So that is a foul ball. It's nice of him to help out Diaz because he is struggling a little bit.
It looked like it got Sammy right on the right or left hand as he was finishing that reach of a swing. A pretty good call by Angel Hernandez down at third. 3-2 to Sammy. Got him in the dirt. Dave Burba with his second strikeout of the day, though he has fanned 2 of the last 3 hitters.
Well, the pitch before that Sammy fouled off that Burb threw away at first base was a slider that broke from the outside corner away. That pitch right there was a split finger that starts in the middle of the plate, and I think Sammy was actually looking for it to break away, and the pitch went straight down. He just swung right over the top of it. A lot of times if your slider and your split finger are very similar in speed to each other, you can throw them back to back. Slider breaks away from a right-handed hitter. You get the hitter looking for that, then you throw him the split finger that breaks straight down. They'll swing right over the top of it.
Deep to right center. Kepler after it. He will get there and catch it. Good jump and a good finish by Gabe Kepler. Well, everybody in baseball knows, Jeff, there is no padding on those walls out there.
No.
That's brick behind that ivy.
Yeah, there's nothing behind that ivy. Right. Burbs throws this pitch, and he hangs it in the middle of the plate on the first pitch to McGriff. The only reason that ball didn't go out of the ballpark is McGriff moved just a little bit towards the pitcher before he swung. If he'd have stayed back 1 second longer, that ball's in the seats. See Kapler make a nice play there. When you're running onto the warning track in this ballpark, as soon as you feel that gravel, you better start slowing down or you're going to the hospital.
Yeah, he was actually in the process of planting his feet when he caught the ball. Here's Moises Alou. He hit that pop-up that ended the first inning on the adventure by Palmiero and the pitcher when Rafael never did see the ball. Of course, he had his sunglasses up on the bill of his cap, and Dave Burba saved the day by catching that ball. And that was with a runner, McGriff, already on board. So if Burba doesn't make that play, who knows what happens in that Cubs first inning after Sammy Sosa had hit the solo home run.
I don't know which was funnier, his Burba's swing and striking out, or his dive backwards to catch that fly ball.
He would probably tell you neither was very funny. There's Alou with the fly to center for Gabe Kapler. And finally, a pitcher with a 1-2-3 inning today. We've played 3 at Wrigley. We've seen Sammy homer. We've seen some other fireworks. And the Cubs lead it 3-1. Bears. Now he's dealing with some whole nother group of guys. Gabe Kapler, he got a pitch up out over the plate and just rammed it into left field. And we talked to Mark Pryor about some of the big names he's facing. Palmiero, Juan Gonzalez, A-Rod in this series.
I think I did that against Houston, the game that I kind of gave up some runs. I think I kind of got wrapped up in who I was facing instead of just going out and doing what I do to make myself successful and making my pitches, working in and out, and throwing the curve and the change. And then I think once I made that adjustments against Seattle and facing Houston again, I think my game, I've kind of taken, part of that learning curve that I'm going to undertake is through this whole year and use it to my advantage.
Jeff Brantly, when you were a rookie in '89 with the Giants, what did your curving, or rather learning curve, entail? What was the most important thing that you had to find out about yourself at the major league level?
Well, the biggest thing for me was watching some of the older guys pitch. I can remember watching Rick Russell pitching, and I didn't think that he had very good stuff, but he was very successful, and I was trying to figure out, now, how is this guy getting it done? He throws the ball 5 or 6 miles an hour slower than what I'm throwing it, but yet he's pitching way better than I am. And that's part of what you learn as a young major leaguer. You learn by watching some of the older guys, talking to them, talk to some of the hitters, see what they like to do. Perfect example right there was Gabe Kapler. The first time up with the bases loaded, he jams him with a pitch. Well, only thing that Kapler's looking for in that next AB is a fastball in. The hitters don't want to get jammed. He throws him a fastball inside and he rips it down the left field line. Well, that's part of the learning process for Pryor. You've got to remember what guys did, and you've got to figure out a different way to get him out, because if you jam a guy and you break his bat, I can guarantee you the next time up, that's what he's looking for.
Well, this is Michael Young, who was caught looking on strikes first time up. Burba, the pitcher, on deck. And the Cubs on top of the 4th, 3-1. 2-run second inning with doubles by Joe Girardi and Delino DeShields, the difference in this game right now. As mentioned, Cubs are 10 under 500, 10 back of the Cardinals. They have not played well at home. That ball is out of play to the right side. They are 500, the 500 mark at home. They're 9 under in their own division, which really hurts you. That has killed the Rangers. They are 6-16 against the AL West. Some of the worst home records, the Cubs are right in the middle of it with the Rays, the Royals, and the Jays.
That's not a good graphic to be on right there.
No, sir. If you don't win at home, you give yourself no chance. Because if you can't win at home, you're not going to go 27-8 on the road like the Red Sox are right now, or 24-12 like the Mariners. It all starts in your own ballpark.
Well, you would think that the Cubs would play better in this ballpark, but they just started out so horrible. They didn't hit the ball at all and had a difficult time pitching. They weren't doing anything well, and just got off to a tough start.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Young. And him reaching. First strikeout since the 2nd inning for Mark Pryor, but that's okay. He got 3 guys to hit into outs last inning. That'll always save you some pitches. And that's number 6 on the day.
Well, you see this breaking ball, it's down and away. And the thing about Michael Young there is, at worst case scenario, what he should be trying to do is shoot the ball to the right side. And I think that he's still trying to do that, but I think he sees this pitch as a fastball because of how hard Pryor's throwing, and you have to respect a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He just got fooled right there.
And I don't think Jeff Brantly likes Dave Burba's chances for contact in this at bat either. He does make contact. That'll at least move the runner over. And Bill Miller throws him out for the second out. Get a guy to third. You never know. Young pitcher. You might put one in the dirt or back to the screen, and you've helped yourself.
Well, you see this technique that Burbs is using. It's where he slides his back foot behind him and takes as big a swing as he possibly can. You see how he uses the back foot slide there? I would not recommend that unless you're playing in a women's softball league, maybe that slow pitch or something like that. The over 30 crowd, that might work.
Well, there's some folks on Lake Michigan who couldn't care less about Dave Burba's swing right now. Look at the great time they're having on a cloudy, breezy day. Little regatta going on out there. Top of the order, Mike Lamb.
I love getting on Dave Burba's swing. I got on it when I played with him, and now I get to do it out of the booth.
Well, Jeff Brantly, first year in the booth, learning like many of us have. And Ozzie Smith was the first one who told me this. He said, Bob, the game looks a heck of a lot easier when you're sitting up here.
Or funnier.
1 ball, 1 strike to Mike Lamb. He's had a perfect day with a base hit, a run scored, and a walk. His batting average of .297. Gabe Kapler at third, 2 outs. Big run for the Rangers sitting out there. They can deliver the 2-out run batted in. Lamb has driven in 11 this year. Pretty much straight up on the infield. And a bit around to the left, especially Corey Patterson out there in center.
Well, Lamb can drive the ball the other way. That's where he is. He's a doubles hitter. He tries to hit the ball in the gaps. That left center field gap is his favorite spot to try to shoot the ball to, especially with a guy that's throwing as hard as Pryor is.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And way upstairs to even the count.
Lamb is really not a bad choice for this club to hit in the top spot. He's not a guy that's going to get on first base and steal you some bangs, and not a whole lot of speed. But the thing that he can do and that he does very well is handle that bat. And it's evidence today. He got a hit in the first AB and he walked last time.
Pretty good jam job there, and Lamb caught it off. Mark Pryor, as we mentioned, 6 strikeouts and 3 2/3. He's on schedule for his 3rd consecutive 10 strikeout game. Kurt Schilling, the only guy who's done that this year.
Well, you see these high fastballs. When you get ahead in the count, you can afford to do that. And just when you're starting to throw those high fastballs, and you come back with a breaking ball. Once you get guys on that rocket chair, they don't know which way to look, high or low. They're in trouble.
There's a big 2-out hit by Mike Lamb of the Rangers. Gabe Kapler home to score, and now it's a 3-2 game. Great job of leveling off and hitting the ball right back up the middle.
Well, you see Lamb there. He's not trying to do too much with that pitch. The pitch before, he let the ball get deep into him. All he was trying to do was fight it off. This pitch right here, he just lays the bat out there. But you see his swing as he comes through. He's nice and flat. Stays on top of the ball. His hands are above the bat head. Just takes the ball into center field. Didn't try to drive it. Didn't try to do anything with it except hit the ball right back up the middle. 2-out hit. Scores a run.
Now you extend the inning for Irod with A-Rod on deck.
First pitch swinging. If it's close, he's accurate.
Mike Lamb does not have a steal this year, but he's a very good base runner. And Ivan Rodriguez 1 for 2 with a double today. As mentioned earlier, he's like a ticking time bomb, waiting to hit that first home run of the year.
Well, it's not a question of if, it's just a matter of when, because he's gonna have a bunch of home runs by the time the season comes to an end.
Hit 196 his first 10 years in the big leagues, so averaging 19 or 20 a year. 36 3 years ago. Runner goes and a foul. So the Rangers making some noise with 2 outs here in the top of the 4th at Wrigley Field in Chicago. The Saturn light ship overhead, 1,000 feet high, giving us these wonderful shots at the corner of Clark and Addison today. Waveland Avenue beyond left field. Sheffield Avenue beyond right field. The most famous baseball address there is. No balls and 2 strikes. Rodriguez looking for his 10th RBI of the year or more.
Now, how many catchers in the big leagues do you see set up like Girardi did right there? He wants a high fastball. Instead of just waving with his hand, throw it up, he gets up high. He gets on his legs and raises himself up. He puts the mid up there right around Pudge's top of his helmet because he wants a high fastball.
By a run on last inning by A-Rod. A surprise steal after a leadoff single. DeMarlo Hale, the coach over there for the Rangers, he and Lamb thinking about trying to get into scoring position with 2 outs. Runner holding. Fastball way upstairs, ball 2.
Well, I think what Jerry Narron is trying to time here is he knows Pudge is going to swing here sooner or later, and he's trying to get the runner in motion when Pudge makes contact, simply because if he hits the ball in the gap, you get Lamb moving, he can score from first base on a ball that's hit in either one of the gaps.
Two. And it's foul outside third.
See, even that pitch right there, that pitch almost bounced. Pudge still got a piece out of it. That's the thing about Pryor right here is he's got to make a good pitch with his breaking ball. Fastballs, he's thrown a couple of fastballs up in the zone. This pitch is down low, almost getting ready to bounce by the time he makes contact with it. If he leaves a breaking ball over the plate, that's something that Pudge can handle pretty well.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. He threw the heater right by him. Strikeout number 7 for Mark Pryor. Cubs lead 3-2. And coming up next, the great Billy Williams will join us in our booth here in Chicago. Great to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Bob. Of course, welcome to Chicago.
Love this town.
Well, it's a great town, and as you can see, as you were asking for the air conditioning, because it gets so cold in the wintertime when it's like this, you want to enjoy the sunshine.
There's a drive off the bat of Gonzalez, and it hooks into the corner.
Hey, he's doing a pretty good job, Gonzalez. He hit the home run last night and won the big ball game, and of course about 3 weeks ago against the Cardinals.
Yes, he did.
We always like to beat the Cardinals here when they come to Chicago.
Billy, tell us about that job you have with the Cubs now as special assistant. What do you do?
Well, special assistant to the president. Last year, when Bale and I talked, we was together at Oakland A's in 1976. And I told him that, you know, I was coaching first base here, and I told him I didn't want to do that anymore. So I wanted to cut back on the travel, and it's just enjoyable. I come out to the ballpark now and work with some of the guys like Patterson, Brown in the outfield, and, you know, talk about hitting a little bit. And, you know, then I go up and sit with Mr. McPhail and Andy McPhail and talk about the club and talk about how can we improve the ball club. Because I know that, you know, we made some trades last year, and a couple of guys, you know, beginning to swing the bat now to help out. So it's been great.
Strikeout number 3 for Dave Burba. He gets Alex Gonzalez leading off in the bottom of the 4th. You hit 392 of your home runs with the Cubs before finishing with Oakland. So we really have 5 400 home run guys here hanging out in this series. We got to add you to that list.
Well, you do. I hope we had that one guy playing first base in the 80s, you know, because, well, Mark Grace did a great job. But since Palmiero, Rafael has left here, you know, he got about 500, over 400 home runs now. He's been swinging the bat real well since he's been here. So I know that when he was traded, matter of fact, in the minor league, he had about 350. We know he was going to be good at swinging the bat. So he just went out, left this ball club, and done wonders in the major league.
Billy, this ball club, this Cubs ball club, has a chance to contend simply because of the division that they're in. But they've got to swing the bats better than what they're doing.
They really do, Jeff. I know the first of the year, you know, it was kind of cold, and you're getting several guys with the ball club, like a Lou when he first came with the ball club. You know, anytime you go to a new ball club, you try to do a little bit too much, and I know this was on his mind. And, of course, when Gonzalez came here, he started to swing the bat the first of the season. Then he hit a little tailspin because he coming into a new ball club, trying to do too much. And, you know, when the burden is left on guys like Sam and McGriff, you know, if you're a run producer, you try to do too much. Everybody got to go out there and do their own thing. And I know that we're a ball club. We shouldn't be 10 games under 500 because you have, when we put together this ball club and spring training, we say, Lou, you know, going to be, you know, he's going to hit and they're going to drive in some runs. We got McGriff on first base. The pitching been doing well. They've been pitching good baseball. And I know right now we're 10 games below 500. So I think, you know, we're beginning to swing the bat now. We're beginning to do some things to let us know that this ball club begin to play winning baseball.
When we came out, or when you guys came out of spring training, the big question mark was, can we pitch well enough to let our offense go together? And the question mark was center field with Corey Patterson and Roosevelt Brown. This kid has been outstanding.
Corey Patterson has been doing a good job. We put him at, he was hitting 8 for a while, and he hit down there, and we put him up in a leadoff spot. We put him second. He's been doing a tremendous job. I know when we first signed him, we saw a great talent of Corey Patterson. We knew he could run. We knew he could steal bases. But it's a question mark. When you bring a young kid up at the big league, you want him to get comfortable. We knew that coming in, we had guys who could swing the bat. We wanted somebody to catch the ball and let his talent develop throughout the year. And this is what he's doing. He started swinging the bat. He got off to such a good start. He's making all the plays in center field. So we think we got a real bona fide center fielder with this ball club now.
Former #1 draft choice. This is Delino DeShields. He's behind 0-2 after Gonzalez and Girardi struck out. By the way, Jeff, I don't know if you know this. We're sitting next to a man who was Cal Ripken before Cal Ripken. Billy Williams, your 1,117 consecutive games was once a great record.
It really was.
In the National League.
Until Steve Garvey broke the record. I think he played in 1,117, 18 ball games. And I was at the ceremony out there. I know that when he and I played in all those games, we didn't think anybody would break.
You guys had a mindset that you were going to play every day, right?
Yes. When I came to the ballpark, I looked at the lineup, and I knew my name would be in the lineup. I think this is one of the first names that Leo put in the lineup when I came to the ballpark.
He better.
So in spring training, I tried to gear myself up to play 162 ball games. And that's what I did. I came out, I wanted to play baseball. I was most comfortable playing left field or right field, you know, just being on the baseball field. And I think this kind of relaxed me to go on. And I had a very energetic guy along with me. That was Ernie Banks. You know, always saying, come to the ballpark. This is great Wrigley Field. And we enjoyed the game. We had a lot of fun here. We just enjoyed coming to beautiful Wrigley Field.
Mark Pryor, the pitcher, had his first major league sacrifice. By the way, Ernie would have been here today, but he's playing 2 somewhere.
You know, a lot of guys said, Ernie always said, let's play 2 because, you know, in those 2 games, he'd probably have about 4 or 5 home runs.
Yeah.
He always wanted to play 2, but there's no better individual that you could be around than Ernie Banks. I know when I first came with the ball club, along with he and Tony Taylor, they were great guys, and they walked me through what it's like playing in the major league.
Can you stay with us another half inning?
I'll stay another half inning. I got to go. I'm saying take me out to the ball game, and I'm going to enjoy my family.
I hear you. Good for you.
Yeah.
His banner hangs out there in the lobby. We were having a great time in between innings. A man sitting next to us who hit 11 home runs in his career off Bob Gibson. We're not going to say that too loud. We don't want him to knock you down the next time he sees you.
He might throw one up in his booth up there. He was the guy. He was real challenging.
That has to be the most anybody's hit off him.
I don't know, but he and I always had those kind of confrontation. You know, the Carpenter Cup series, always a big series. And, of course, the late Jack Buck, and we all, you know, drop our head for him because he's one of the ambassadors of baseball, a friend of Harry Carey. They did the Carpenter game for a long time, and certainly baseball going to miss a great person and a great baseball fan. But, you know, Jack Buck always said that when the game was on the line in the 9th inning, Bob Gibson pitching, you always had to hit. You know, you always had to come to the plate to hit. But I enjoyed that because it was a confrontation. It was great baseball.
1 out after A-Rod lined out to Sammy. Here's Rafael Palmiero. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. Billy Williams, 6 All-Star games, Rookie of the Year in '61, a batting title in '72 when he hit .333, and a date in Cooperstown the same year Jack Buck went in.
It did.
1987. You two shared that ceremony.
We did. We shared the stage, and it was a great ceremony. I know that, you know, when you play baseball, you enjoy it. And when you stand up there to that podium, you look around and see Willie Mays, Ted Williams, you know, all those individuals who played great baseball, you were a fan of growing up, and you enjoyed the game, and get a chance to be on the same podium that you've been inducted Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a great thrill for me and my family. We enjoyed it so much.
Billy, who was the toughest pitcher that you ever faced, or the guy that you had the hardest time with?
It's a guy that you don't read that he'll be in the Hall of Fame, and of course he pitched here. He was the pitching coach for us in the minor league. He pitched for St. Louis, Ray Sadecki. He was a guy when he first came to the Cardinals. He was straight over the top, and I could swing the bat, maybe get a base hit. But seemingly like when I went with the Oakland A's, he came to the American League. And I remember facing a pitcher, and they brought him in, and I said, well, wow.
And guess what? This game is tied.
See that? That's that Rafael Palmiero again.
Yep,
He's a great hitter.
Hit one last night down the line. He gets one to left center today, and the game is tied as Palmiero hits his 14th of the year. And as they usually do at Wrigley, they throw the ball back. But that's, you know, the wind's blowing out today.
Yeah.
And a routine fly ball can leave this ballpark.
Well, it's one of those days when it's hot and you're getting the Indiana wind, the wind's blowing out, and of course when you score one run in a game like this, you sit on the bench and say, one run not going to win this baseball game. And so you understand the whole game. You want to go out there and play, and you want to pitch well, and pretty soon you're going to get some runs, hopefully.
One run in, one out top of the fifth. Herbert Perry is next. And he goes up swinging. The gap in right center. Who's going to get it? Sammy is there with the backhanded running catch. He's made himself a better ball player, hasn't he?
He really have. When Sammy first came over here, of course, he came with the White Sox, and he didn't hit that well when he first came over here, but I think he got into Wrigley Field, got into the crowd, and since then he's been playing great baseball. I like what he did last year because in the past years he developed himself as a great defensive player. I know when you hit home runs, a lot of things happen. He had to do a lot of interviews when he and Mark McGwire was in that home run race. But last year, I think he devoted himself to the player that many people say he's a 5-2 player, and he can do that. And I think last year you saw he made great catches in the outfield. He threw a lot of runners out. So he's just a great all-around baseball player.
He just doesn't have any fun out there. If he could just come out of the shell a little bit. What a great ambassador for the game.
He really is. And when he runs the field out there, and I think he got most of those right field fans on his side. You know? But Sammy has a great time on the baseball field, and I think anybody want to take him out of a baseball game. I don't care whether we lead in about 10 or 12 runs or the opposing team leading us. He want to stay in the baseball games because certainly he have a chance to hit another home run. You know, he's moving up on the home run ranking. And when you hit 50 home runs, 60 home runs a year, you get to 500, 600 real quick.
2 balls, 1 strike to Kevin Mench. He's 0 for 2. A little Cub fan with Dad at the ballpark today watching some afternoon baseball. Billy, Jeff and I are sitting here earlier wondering what would ever happen if the Cubs could get back to that fall classic. What would this town be like?
We had about 94 years to think about it. You know, we have about 94 years to celebrate. But I think the fans here, they deserve it because when you look at the fans out there and when you play here for like 16 years I played here and the fans enjoy baseball, they know baseball, and there's nothing you want for anybody other than, you know, World Series for these fans because they've been supportive all those years. They've been enjoying the game of baseball. They come out, rain or shine, they cheer the Cubs on, and each year you go in, they have a lot of fun. It was certainly exciting, you know, when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa was hitting those home runs, and at the end of the season, we got a chance to play San Francisco in the playoff, and we won the playoff to play Atlanta. So we gave them a great thrill that year. So, you know, anything you could do in that order because you want the fans to be satisfied because they've been so supportive for so many years.
That was one of those years where even when you played outside of Wrigley, and because I was on the Cardinals that year, even when we played outside of Busch Stadium, it was packed. It was standing room only because people wanted to see Sammy hit home runs and they wanted to see McGwire hit home runs. And they would boo when they would get walked. It was unbelievable.
It was amazing.
It's kind of like when the Bulls used to go play. They want to see Michael Jordan score about 50 or 60 points, but they want their team to win. But anywhere we go, I guess over the years, you know, I guess we developed it in the 60s when we could put a game on television when nobody else is on television. fans got to see the Chicago Cubs, whether or not it was in Chicago or Florida, through those years. And then we had some ball players like Ron Santo, Ernie Banks, myself, who created a lot of interest in people seeing the Chicago Cubs.
There's the typical Billy Williams little line drive to left center to win a ball game. It looks like Don Kessinger jumping on home plate there. Joey Amalfitano. Ron Santo will come into the picture. There's Ronnie.
There's Ronnie.
Doing radio work upstairs.
Yeah, hopefully this year he get that honor. You know, he could go to Cooperstown and be inducted in Baseball Hall of Fame, which he deserves.
What a great man he is. Great third baseman, good hitter.
We started out in AA baseball together. We played AA baseball, AAA baseball, and all those years in the major league here, we had a lot of fun. We supported each other. We had a great time here in Chicago, and we're still having a great time. And he's so relaxed up there, he's yawning now.
Yeah, that's okay. He deserves a little
He
R&R.
deserves it, don't he?
We got to ask him about his Cubs Barbie doll he's got up there with him, though. It's not a bobblehead.
It's been a winning doll. You know, you want to keep that up there. Anything we can do to win ball games here, it's fine. Lucky
Barbie. It's upstairs, 1 ball, 1 strike. Billy, it's been great to see you. Get those pipes warmed up because you're singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" today.
I am, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to have my grandsons and granddaughters up there. We're celebrating a birthday for our youngest grandson, Kendall, out at the ballpark today. So it's going to be a great day. We're celebrating his birthday, and I'm going to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and of course the Chicago Cubs going to win. Bob, we'll see you later.
Thanks for your time,
enjoy
sir.
Wrigley Field.
Good to see you.
Jeff, good to see you, baby. Take care.
Billy Williams, 426 major league home runs. Himself a great ambassador of the game. And a fixture here at Wrigley Field. So great to see him working with the Cubs and helping out. Gabe Kapler, the batter. A runner at first, 2 outs. Top of the 5th in a 3-3 game after Palmiero's homer tied it. And Kapler pops one up into short right field. Here comes Sammy. He will bat third in the bottom of the 5th. Top of the order coming up, Billy Williams. That's Jack Brickhouse with him, the great Cubs announcer. And we go bottom 5, all tied up. A ground out and a strikeout today. Former #1 draft choice out of Georgia. And he showed some of his pop last night when he hit his 5th homer of the year, a low line drive into the seats in right field.
That's the one thing about leadoff hitters, especially guys like this. Percal in Atlanta would come into play in this instance, is that when they hit the ball out of the ballpark or they get used to hitting the ball in the gaps, all of a sudden it takes them out of their ball game. And their ball game should be slapping the ball to the left side, bunting on occasion, and getting on first base.
Small ball.
Right, small ball. That's what you want these guys to do. You want Sammy and McGriff and Moises to have somebody stand on second base when they come to the plate, and this is the guy that you want standing there.
Dave Burba fires a 1-1 pitch, and it's popped up. Over to have a look. Herbert Perry with room. And the ball came twisting back in on him a little bit. He got up for the first out. Live aerial coverage today's Cubs-Rangers game being provided by the Saturn Light Ship. Saturn is proud to be a part of ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball. Talk about a specialized line of work. Do you know there are more astronauts than there are blimp pilots?
I didn't know that until today.
It takes a crew of 16 to get the airship up and flying on its nationwide tour, and we're glad it's flying over Wrigley Field today. It's part of our crew up there. Nice going, guys. Got the headsets on. They're listening to Jeff Brantly break down the game of baseball 1,000 feet up.
I wonder if those things can coast in the air like if the engine goes out. Can they? Or do they just drop like a hot rock?
I have no idea. Line drive by Bill Miller.
Sorry.
Only a guy from Mississippi would say drop like a hot rock.
I just thought of that.
We need to go down and talk to Palmiero about what you were really like down at that school. There's a bouncer way out in front of home plate to Bill Miller, who's 0 for 2. And like Corey Patterson, Bill Miller has a 5-game streak on the line. Rafael Palmiero, Jeff Brantly, Will Clark. You talk about a character.
Yeah.
Boy, that school has sent some interesting people to the big leagues.
The Nushler, Will Clark Jr. Tell you what, those boys could hit. Between him and Palmiero, we didn't have to worry about offense at Mississippi State, I assure you.
I can't even think about you guys with aluminum bats in your hand. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And this one drilled out to left center. Stalking it, Gabe Kepler, and reaching up to grab it. This, of course, our afternoon offering today, and we've got a doubleheader coming up for you tonight. It'll be a little bit different in St. Louis tonight. The Cardinals and the entire city of St. Louis, state of Missouri, mourning the passing of Jack Buck. Angels, Cardinals, Red Sox, Padres to follow at 10 Eastern. You'll see guys like Jim Edmonds, Albert Pujols, Garrett Anderson in Game 1, Ryan Klesko, Nomar Garcia-Parra in Game 2. Great doubleheader tonight. Red Sox lead the Yankees by 1.5 games in the AL East. The Cardinals are 1 game up on the Reds in the National League Central. St. Louis has won 4 straight. Line drive, and Sammy's got another hit. How about him going the opposite way with a drive that Palmiero could not handle?
Well, we touched on that a little bit earlier when he hit that home run out of right field, but the thing about Sammy, when he's hitting the ball to the right side, it just makes him so much more dangerous, because if you throw him a breaking ball, he's gonna be right on it. Because when you look out over the plate as a hitter and you're looking to drive the ball the other way, you can hit 2 pitches. You can hit the fastball that's on the outside part of the plate, and you also hit the breaking ball. But when you hang a breaking ball and you're looking out over the plate, they're going to hit it a long way. There's not going to be any popping up or hitting it off the end of the bat. They're going to hit those things in the seats.
Red McGriff 1 for 2. A single and a fly ball that Gabe Kepler grabbed right in the ivy to take an extra base hit away from him.
He called that a swing right there.
He definitely stopped.
He stopped him. Hang with him, Freddie.
Ron Baylor, a great student of the art of hitting, enjoys teaching hitting as a manager. Fly ball might go at the wall. No. Mike Lamb is there. Palmiero got one to sneak out over there, but Fred McGriff couldn't. They've left 4, and after 5, 3-3 game. Take over for the Cubs after Mark Pryor goes 5. And this one is jacked by Michael Young, and you can kiss it goodbye into the bleachers. Michael Young with his 7th of the year. Rangers on top. Second time today, they lead it 4-3.
I didn't even get a chance to say if Borowski gets the ball up, his sinker doesn't sink very much before he hit it over the fence.
Out in a hurry by Michael Young.
Now pitching. When you're a sinker ball pitcher and you get the ball up, the ball stays in the zone too long. Gets real hittable real quick.
Dave Burba, the batter. Strikeout and a ground ball. There's that back foot sliding again. You like that, huh?
I'm going to get tickled. I'm not going to be able to talk. Oh. Dave Burba. Don't watch him hit if you're looking at home.
One ball and 2 strikes. Looks like Joe may be giving him a little stick behind the plate, too.
Joe's laughing.
And a breaking ball away. Burba down for the 3rd time today. 2nd time on strikes. And the top of the order now for the Rangers with Mike Lamb and Ivan Rodriguez.
Maybe we should have done our baseball notebook with how not to swing. This is it right here. Don't slide your back foot behind you and wrap the bat around you, because that's embarrassing.
He's upset with himself for not getting... Mike Lamb, 2 singles, a run, an RBI, and a walk today.
Well, that shows you what kind of competitor Dave Burba is, because he really believes that he can hit. I know he probably hadn't studied too much of his film, but yeah, they're cracking up at the dugout looking at him.
Well, their video guy probably refuses to record it. And a base hit to right field. Nice swing by Mike Lamb, and how about him today? Came in batting .291. He's 3. So Mike Lamb at first base with 1 out.
Well, in this instance with Nairn, he's lost Rusty Greer, he's lost Frank Catalanato, who were his guys at the top of the order. So he's got Lamb in there. swinging the bat great today.
107 pitches for Mark Pryor. Don Baylor told us before the game they normally have him on a 125 pitch limit. So well under that today. And I think they felt if he pitches the whole 6th inning, he may be well over 125. So why not make the switch? They go to Joe Borowski, and then he gives up a tie-ending home run on his very first pitch.
Well, a lot of folks may be asking the question, this guy throws the ball 97 miles an hour. Why can't he continue to pitch in the ball game? But when you're a young pitcher and you're the future of this ball club, you've got to, as a manager and as a general manager and as a pitching coach, you've got to be able to take care of your younger guys. You don't want the guy out there throwing 120, 130 pitches every ball game. Sure, he can do it now, but it's going to affect him later on in his career.
Left-hander Jeff Becerra. Real versatile guy out of the bullpen and a spot starter last year or two for Don Baylor, warming up. And Borowski goes 2-0 on Ivan Rodriguez. They're thinking about Rafael Palmiero 2 spots away yet with the left-hander Becerra warming up. Another reminder, 7 a.m. Eastern, Friday morning, it's the USA and Germany in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. First time since 1930 for the USA. And the Germany side, they have been 3-time World Cup champions, and they are regular visitors to the quarterfinals. But their last couple of World Cups, this is when they have fallen to undermanned foes. Can it happen again? Don't forget ESPN, The Deuce, and ABC, your home for all World Cup action. World Cup tonight, your source for scores and highlights each night through the tournament. Log on to soccernet.com for more World Cup information. There's the shirt of the day here at Wrigley. And a fastball is in there to Pudge Rodriguez. He's 1 for 3 with a double.
Well, Pudge hits into a lot of double plays, but the thing right here, you're behind in the count, 2-1. That pitch Pudge gave a check swing on, so you can make a pitch here and get him to hit into a double play, but it's got to be something that starts in the zone and gets out in a hurry.
Rodriguez looking to jack one out of here. It was swinging from the heels right there. And the count's even 2-2.
Well, with his back problems, you don't see him miss those kind of pitches too often, but I'm sure that once he gets back in there on a regular basis, he's not going to miss too many that are right in the middle of the plate.
Jammed him and getting the pop-up. Fred McGriff will call off the pitcher and catch the foul ball for the second out. That'll leave it up to A-Rod here in the top of the 6th. Alex Rodriguez was 0 for 21 before he got a base hit last night, breaking a streak of 5 full games without a hit. Second longest drought of his career. He struck out today in the first, singled and stole a base in the 3rd, lined out in the 5th.
It's not bad to go 1 for 26 and still be hitting 290 something.
How about that? Leads the American League with 20 home runs, 58 runs batted in. Well, Konerko of the White Sox right behind him in the RBI race. And of course, last year Alex hits 52 home runs, breaking the major league record of guess who? Ernie Banks. Ernie hit 47 in 1958. That was the first of 2 consecutive MVPs for Ernie Banks. 40, 58, and 59. There he is. Great right-handed batter. Ernie Banks played 1,000 games plus at shortstop and 1,000 games plus at first base for the Cubs. One of the few major leaguers to ever do anything like that. 512 home runs. And right now for A-Rod, he's stuck on 20 this year. Rangers get a homer from Michael Young and lead it 4-3 after 5.5.
Well, Burbs is now pitched a great ball game. He just got to continue to keep this lead right here.
Leading off for the Cubs, bottom of the 6th will be Moises Alou. Bouncer, deep 3rd. Herbert Perry got it. And Moises Alou having a quiet day. Pop up, a fly ball, a grounder. He's 0 for 3. Next up will be Alex Gonzalez.
Saw Moises in a couple of ball games last week. He looked like he was getting his swing back a little bit, but today he just looks like he's just a little bit off. I don't know if it's because Burba is pitching so well or if it's just the fact that he's just still not quite got it to where he's comfortable yet swinging the bat.
Juan Alvarez warming for the Rangers. And a bunt. Looking for a hit, Gonzalez. Well played by Herbert Perry, charging and throwing on the run.
Well, Herbert Perry looked like Brooks Robinson right there, didn't he?
He's a solid guy. You mentioned earlier how good defensively he is and what a good bat he can swing.
Well, he comes in, bare hands the ball. Perfect throw to first base. That's the kind of thing that when your rookie superstar doesn't pan out the way that you wanted him to. This guy's stepped in and done a great job. Great answer for Jerry Nairn.
Yeah, Rangers had Hank Blaylock make the club out of spring training and then struggle offensively. He's back at AAA Oklahoma.
Well, you see that a lot of time with young hitters because coming out of spring training and during spring training, you get a lot of fastballs. A lot of the young guys are dead fastball hitters. They haven't gotten to the point where once you start the season, there's a lot of breaking balls being thrown. Guys pitch totally different, especially the veteran pitchers, during the regular season than they do in spring training.
Dave Burba only gave up 1 run in the first inning today, and that's really good news for him. If you give up 1 run every inning, your ERA is 9. Coming into the day, his first inning ERA was well over 12.5 runs a game. So to give up just 1 and for the most part to settle down after that, not bad. He gave up 2 in the second and very efficient ever since. He's only given up 2 hits since the second inning.
Well, even though he's given up 8 hits, he hasn't walked anybody today. He struck out 5 guys. And when you're out there and in a starting situation, this is why Burba's still in the ball game and Pryor's on the bench, because Burba's not walking anybody. He's keeping his pitch count down.
And 9 of the 10 homers he's given up this year have been solo shots. Out of play again off the bat of Joe Girardi.
Well, you never want to give up home runs, but if you do give them up, you surely don't want anybody on base when you give them up.
Dave Burba will be 36 on the 7th of July. Rangers signed him as a free agent last December. They brought Chan-Ho Park in.
Seems like Chan-Ho has been hurt the whole time he's been over here, and he was never hurt in L.A., and now he gets over here and he's having some injury problems.
Pitched pretty well in 5 innings last night. And a high fly ball to center. Gabe Kapler is there. And a 1-2-3 6th inning for Dave Burba. The bat of Rafael Palmiero leads off top of the 7th in Chicago next.
He's tough.
You want to take it to the ring, honey?
Yet sensitive.
I like this shirt, man. Who shot the couch?
He's smart.
Come on, go to the win.
Yet humble.
Can you break $1 million?
He's all that.
I don't think he's going anywhere for a while. Maybe. We'll see.
Rafael Palmiero, one of the best hitters of his time.
And I know he wants to finish his career in Texas.
1 ball, 1 strike. Ranger bullpen is starting to get busy here in the late innings. In the bottom of the 7th, the Cubs will have their bottom 2 hitters up in the order and then the top. And of course we'll see Sammy again and Fred McGriff. Pretty good pitch to the outside corner.
Well, I would imagine with the way that their bullpen is thrown, the Texas side, that Nairn will leave Burba in the ball game as long as he possibly can.
High in the air, right side. McGriff into Shields over there. Red McGriff will take it. And a 1-2-3-7 for Joe Borowski. Time to stretch. Billy Williams will do a little singing here, and the Rangers lead the Cubs 4-3.
Two, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you out at the old hall. 1, 2,
Well, Harry used to holler that. Chris Steins pinch hits for the Cubs, bottom of the 7th, against left-hander Juan Alvarez, who takes over for the Rangers. Steins has always been an intriguing player with some power and some hitting ability, and there's the young left-hander Juan Alvarez. They got him as a free agent last November. Several years in the Angels organization.
Well, they don't have too many left-handers in there in the Texas organization in their minor league. They've got some right-handed arms that are pretty good. They're young, but they're pretty good. They had to have somebody left-handed for the big league level. They've got Rich Rodriguez, who's fixing to come back off the DL. For now, Alvarez is the deal. Because Mr. Rocker has not been pitching very well.
Gave up the walk-off homer to Alex Gonzalez here last night. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Chris Steins, who's hit 3 homers and driven in 12, and he takes one away outside. Loosening up in interesting fashion down that right field line. This ball is well hit to left. It might be up against the basket, and it's caught by Mike Lamb. The Cubs are flirting with the ivy out there, but they haven't been able to sneak one out. And Steins denied for the first out here in the 7th. I'm telling you, some very innocent swings, Jeff Brantly, are carrying a long way today.
Well, this ball is out over the plate, and Steins steps into the plate when he swings. He hits that ball right on the fat part of the bat. Just didn't quite get it up enough. And that's the perfect place to hit it, is right there on that corner in left. There's a corner out there in left center field and right center field.
Mark Bellhorn, the hitter. Switch hitter, batting right-handed. In 135 and 38 games for the A's last year. Cubs have some versatility with their bench. They have 3 switch hitters. Todd Hundley is one of them. Lucky Ojeda the other.
Well, with Alvarez throwing a lot of off-speed pitches and Hundley being the last catcher, I'm sure that chances of him pitching are going to be pretty slim.
Well, Borowski goes 2 innings, gives up 1 run on 2 hits. Pitcher of record, unless the Cubs get him off the hook. And Bellhorn taking all the way, 3 balls, 1 strike.
That was the only bad pitch that Borowski made, was the first one that he threw. Souvenir.
That'll fill the count. Corey Patterson on deck at the top of the Cubs order. And offense has been a problem around here this year. Cubs came into this game today at .238, lowest team batting average in baseball. And Bellhorn coaches the walk. That's the time run aboard with 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Doubleheader for you tonight, the Angels and the Cardinals. Garrett Anderson, Troy Gloss, Tim Salmon in that high-powered Anaheim offense against their ex-teammate Jim Edmonds, as well as Albert Pujols. Matt Morris will go for the Cardinals tonight. 7 Eastern on ESPN. Over on ESPN2 at 10 Eastern, Nomar and the Red Sox at San Diego against the Padres. Log on to ESPN.com for more on Major League Baseball. And that's what Jim Edmonds did over in the American League before coming to the Cardinals and winning Gold Glove hardware with St. Louis as well. A drive, and it's foul off the bat of Corey Patterson. Aaron Seeley for the Angels tonight. He's 6-3. Matt Morris 9-4 for the Cardinals. Castillo and Tomko, the Boston at San Diego pitching matchup tonight.
Sounds funny talking about the Boston Red Sox and the San Diego Padres.
How about that?
When I was playing, I didn't really like playing these interleague ball games simply from a scouting standpoint. You didn't really know that much about the hitters that you were facing, but being in the booth or just being a fan now and watching the game, these are great ball games. Texas at Wrigley, this is great.
All kind of little sidebar stories like Palmiero and Sosa against their ex-ball clubs. And Jeff, what do you think about the crossover effect this year, where they're not only playing interleague baseball, but they're not playing teams, you know, West against West and Central, you know, kind of mixing things up? Do you like it?
Well, I like it, and I think what they're trying to accomplish is using the interleague play and getting into the rivalries also. But I think when you have a rivalry of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Detroit Tigers, we're missing the boat there somewhere. It's hard to get everybody the place that they need to play or the team that they need to play to make it fit right.
Tigers-Padres would be interesting. Rematch of the '84 World Series. And the Cubs were eliminated by San Diego. Corey Patterson strikes out. Second out here in the 7th. And it'll be Bill Miller, another switch hitter. He will flip around and bat from the right side now with his 5-game hitting streak on the line. I think it's interesting to see the Yankees at Coors Field with all their power.
I like that. It's just a good thing to see different matchups, and as a fan, if I'm a fan in Colorado, I'm a season ticket holder, I love the fact that the Yankees are coming to town.
Absolutely.
I just think that adds an extra element to the game.
And being a bit of a purist myself, I'm really not one of those guys who thinks it dilutes the drama of league versus league eventually in the World Series. You know, really the odds of teams who are going to meet in October playing now, really not that great. So,
well, I think
why not?
Even if they do, you're getting a preview of something to come later. It's almost like having an appetizer before that 48-ounce porterhound.
1 ball, no strikes to Bill Miller. Out to the gap in right center. And it's heading back for Kevin Mench, and he's there to grab it on the run. The Cubs strand their 5th runner of the day. On to the 8th inning at Wrigley. And the Rangers on top, 4-3. And right across the street somewhere. Is that the shot from the blip? They're finding everything for us here. A unique perspective, to say the least, from the Saturn Lightship, the entire Saturn Lightship team. Hope you enjoy the game and the view. That cooled us off a little bit, didn't it? Not much on a muggy day.
Not helping.
10 airships flying in the country. This one 165 feet long, 150,000 cubic feet of helium. Mark Bellhorn stays in to play second base, and Kyle Farnsworth will pitch the 8th for the Cubs. Used to be a starter, exclusively a reliever last year when he threw in 76 games.
Well, he did. And this guy really got the grasp of the bullpen in a hurry, throwing a lot of strikes, throws real hard, keeps the ball down. And really out of the bullpen, all you really want your guys to do is come in, throw strikes, and be aggressive. And a guy with stuff like that, the stuff that he's got, throwing 96, 97 miles per hour, that nice slider that he's got, you can't help be successful as long as you get your stuff over the plate.
Gabe Kapler, a 4th inning double, 1 for 3 on the day. And Farnsworth goes 3-0 quickly.
Of course, he's not getting it over right now.
Each team with bullpens who don't look the same as what their manager and GM had envisioned at the start of the year. And a strike. Tom Gordon has been unavailable to the Cubs all year. Antonio Alfonseca comes over from Florida to help out. Jeff Zimmerman unavailable for the Rangers, and they've called on an interesting cast of characters like Hideki Arabu, John Rocker at times, but really without a closer right now is Texas.
Well, Zimmerman is their main guy. Had some elbow problems. Don't expect him back until after the All-Star break, if they can get him back then. But once they get him back down to the bullpen, I think it'll give them some solid support from at the end of the ball game. Because when you've got Jay Powell right before a guy like Zimmerman, you're going to have some decent success once you get to the 7th or the 8th inning.
Almost 5 runs a game, the Cubs ERA from that pen. Ouch. We talked about the Phillies on our regional coverage on ESPN2 last week. They're a ball club that's lost a lot of close games, especially on the road this year. And Larry Boa looks to the bullpen as the reason for that.
Well, the Phillies pitchers just haven't pitched the same as they did last year. The reason that they were in first place for so long is because they pitched so well, and they just had a tough time getting it together this year.
3-2. Well hit and stabbed by Bill Miller. The hot corner, and that's the first out here in the 8th inning. Summarize the game for you. Sammy, opposite field, his 16th opposite field homer of the year. His 26th put the Cubs on top. Then they got some hits put together. Delino DeShields an RBI double, following one by Joe Girardi, who scores there, and the Cubs led 3-1. Rafael Palmiero, little fly ball, left field, in the 5th, out it went to tie the game, and in the 6th, no doubt about it, Michael Young on the first pitch by Joe Borowski, and that was a no-doubter into the seats and left, and the Rangers lead it 4-3. How about the home run hitting ball clubs? The Rangers have hit 73 this year. That's 5th best in the American League, and the Cubs have hit 77. 1 behind the Giants, 2 behind the D-backs at the top of the National.
Well, you said it earlier, Bob. This Cubs ball club has hit a lot of home runs, but they just had a tough time stringing hits together. 2 out base hits. They just had a hard time getting runs, period.
Michael Young with that solo last time up, his 7th of the year. He had 19 homers between AAA and the big club last year. Out to short. Alex Gonzalez circles behind it and makes the play for the 2nd out. MLB.com, your place for everything in Major League Baseball. And today's broadcast, under broadcasting rights granted by the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the expressed written consent of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball. And go to MLB.com for everything that is Major League Baseball. Log on now for updated scores, exclusive live audio and video, official fantasy games, and comprehensive stats and info you can't get anywhere else. MLB.com. Number 9 hole, the Rangers will pinch hit Todd Green. Picked him up as a free agent May 16th from the San Diego organization. He was hitting .352 at the AAA level.
Well, Hasselman has normally been their backup catcher. As far as swinging the bat, he doesn't swing the bat like Green or like Pudge did.
One ball, 1 strike to Todd Green.
I like Farnsworth's stuff. He throws the ball hard. He's got a nice breaking ball. Once they get him back in the groove, getting him out there on a daily basis and getting some work in, he's going to help them. They get Gordon back. I mean, this ball club has got a chance to climb back in this race. They've just got to get everybody healthy and everybody on the same page, and they've got to swing the bats. Alou, Miller, and Freddie McGriff are going to have to equal the production that Sammy's been putting out right now.
That'll even the count 2-2. Sammy Sosa will lead off bottom of the 8th. Important out here. Cal Farnsworth to keep this a 1-run game. The thing the Cubs dread the worst, and there's McGriff who will bat second, is that Sammy cannot represent the tying run. Moises Alou will be the 3rd batter in that inning. But if you take all 3 of those guys, the hopes in Chicago are pinned on Mr. Sosa. Going into this series, the rest of the Cubs offense was batting .228.
That's not good.
It's awful, quite honestly.
That's last.
And Sammy's only able to elevate their team batting average 10 points higher than that. There's only so much one man can do, and Todd Green strikes out. 1-2-3-8 for Farnsworth. Here comes Sammy in a 1-run game. Rangers lead 4-3. Major League Baseball from Wrigley Field, bottom 8. And here's the man Sammy Sosa faces, Jay Powell.
Jay was at Mississippi State right after me and Rafael and Will Clark and Bobby Thigpen. Been hurt. He had a messed up tendon, torn tendon in his finger. He's just now getting back out there. He said he feels real good. Sinkers and sliders. Starts the ball in the middle of the plate, lets it dive down. Same thing with his breaking ball. Starts it in the middle, breaks it off the outside corner.
Is that what you guys call trusting your stuff, throwing it right down the middle and letting the movement take care of it?
Well, when you have movement like he does, that's what you need to do. You need to start the ball in the middle of the plate so you get a bite from the hitter, and then the movement will take care of getting the hitter out. Now, me, of course, I couldn't start the ball in the middle of the plate because then I'd have to turn around and watch it go over center field.
It would stay there, huh? Yeah. Chopper at third. Herbert Perry and Sammy Sosa gone, starting the bottom of the eighth. Well, the ESPY Awards are coming up on ESPN from Los Angeles, July 10th at 9 Eastern. And Sammy is one of the guys we're nominating for Best Major League Player, along with Ichiro, the Big Unit, Kurt Schilling, Barry Bonds, Clemens, and Luis Gonzalez. For more on the ESPY Awards, log on to ESPN.com. We're going to do it during the All-Star break this year from L.A. The best in sports over the last year and a half will be honored on the ESPY Awards. This ball by McGriff drilled into right field for a hit. Tying runs aboard with one out, bottom of the eighth. Fred McGriff with the second hit of the day, and he's hit the ball well 4 times this afternoon. He deserves better than a 2-for-2 with a couple of singles. Right back up in that bullpen after last night's disaster, John Rocker.
Well, that pitch that Jay just threw to McGriff started inside corner and stayed over the plate. So you get a commitment from the hitter, but the ball never gets out of the hitting zone. It stayed in the hitting zone. If you're going to start the ball on the inside part of the plate, you don't want it to run back over the middle.
Moises Alou for the Cubs. 0 for 3. Batting a very uncharacteristic .222. What is going on with that? Moises a .306 career batting average into the season.
He's actually started to swing the bat better as of late, but he was down even below 200 for a while there.
Cubs picked him up as a free agent in December. They would have been shocked at that time to be told on the 19th of June Moises Alou would have 3 home runs and 18 batted in.
Well, it's all about timing, and you watch Moises here. He's got his bottom hand is below the knob on the bat. And the reason that hitters do that is they're trying to get as much leverage with the bat head as they can. And by leverage, I mean as much bat speed and as much pop when the bat head comes through. And you can see his last 2 fingers are not on the bat. When the ball's inside, the only thing he's trying to do is drive that right hand to the ball and spin his hips and let it fly like that.
Well hit to center right there. Gabe Kapler, he was playing deep. He didn't have very far at all to go for that. 2 outs. Alex Gonzalez, 6 home runs this year. 2 of them have been walk-off jobs. The second one against John Rocker last night, bottom of the 9th for a 4-3 win.
Well, when you watch Rocker pitch, he's got a good breaking ball, but he just stays hard with everything that he throws. And it seems like he just has so much adrenaline working when he's out there that he doesn't pitch. And it doesn't matter how hard you throw the baseball, if you don't change speeds and move the ball around a little bit, you're going to get hammered.
Hideki Arabu, 12 saves this year, though now saying he's uncomfortable in that role as a closer. This ball well hit to right center, and it is up against the wall. Fred McGriff around third. Gene Glynn sends him, and Alex Gonzalez is the money man again in Chicago. Tie game, bottom of the 8th.
Well, Alex Gonzalez is a fastball hitter. Likes the ball out over the plate. This ball starts away from him, but it stays up. The ball doesn't dive. He gets the fat part of the bat on it in a hurry. He's looking for a first pitch fastball. You see that ball, it's up. Not quite belt high, but about high thigh. Ball stays out over the plate. Jay doesn't like it. He knows he made a mistake with the pitch. And normally you don't see a guy score from first base, but as we were talking about earlier, you get the ball in the gaps in this ballpark, do a whole lot of running on the base path.
And of course, with 2 outs, McGriff running all the way. Joe Girardi now with the lead run at second base. A seesaw affair. We're back even at 4. Girardi drove in the Cubs' second run with a double back in the second inning, and he scored as DeShields did the same. Cubs led 3-1 at that point.
You can be assured that Girardi's trying to get a fastball here that he can get the back part of the bat on.
He bounces it outside third. Bottom of the 8th inning. Last night the Cubs beat the Rangers 4-3. Another tight one today. It's 4-4. Bottom of the 8th. Wrigley Field for some interleague play today. Jeff Brantly alongside. I'm Bob Carpenter. Our Wednesday afternoon offering of ESPN Major League Baseball. Doubleheader tonight. Angels at Cardinals. Red Sox at Padres. One coming. Over but low. Close. By the way, Cardinals at Cubs, our Sunday night game this week. That's always a hoot when St. Louis is up here for the weekend.
Had a game earlier here with the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Cubs are 10 games back of St. Louis right now.
Matt Morris. Fourth pitch, Kenny.
He's pitching tonight. In there, strike 2.
Well, the Cardinals moved into first place. It's going to be difficult for the Reds to stay with them with the staff that they've got. You see this pitch right here from Jay Powell. You see how the ball starts off the plate and then runs back over the outside corner. As a right-handed batter, Girardi catches a whole lot of them, but it's a lot tougher to hit it with that stick.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And the key to that strike 2, as opposed to the one to Gonzalez, he kept the ball down nicely.
The ball was down. The ball that Gonzalez hit started on the plate and then came back over the middle of the plate. What you're trying to do when you have as much movement as Powell does, you want to start the ball off the plate so the hitter gives up on it and then run the ball back over the plate. So if he does swing, it's a decelerated swing. It's not an aggressive swing.
3-2. Todd Hundley on deck. Way outside. 2 on, 2 out. And we will see Todd Hundley. But this is really nothing unusual for Don Baylor to use his final catcher. When he used to manage in Colorado, he would pull out all the stops. I mean, he would pinch hit. He'd pull a starting pitcher after 4 innings and pinch hit if he thought he had a chance with 1 swing to get back in the ballgame.
Well, this is the ball game here, but you can't let Hundley bat left-handed against Jay Powell. There's just no way.
He'll bat right-handed against John Rocker. Here he comes. The expected crowd reaction. The Cubs beat him last night. They face him again in a moment. On the right side, 4 for 17 this year. Another strike.
When you throw a breaking ball for a strike, the hitters have to respect that, so they have to approach your fastball a little bit different. If he comes with a fastball here, it's going to look like it's 100 miles an hour.
2 on, 2 out. Cubs have tied the game here in the bottom of the 8th. Oh, 2 pitch. How about 94 miles an hour? And a pop-up. Over to grab it. Herbert, Perry, and Rocker does the job. But the Cubs tie it on 2 hits and a walk to the 9th. 4-4 at Wrigley. The Cubs to try to keep this a tied game into the bottom of this inning.
Well, Palmiero has got to be able to hold the Rangers at bay, and he's facing some of their tougher hitters, the guys that really swung the bat well today. He's facing the first one, Mike Lamb.
First pitch grounder. First pitch out. Bellhorn throws out Lamb, who was 3 for 3 with a walk.
Normally you would say that since Palmiero has probably never faced Pudge, or if he has, it's been in a short amount of time when Palmiero was with the Red Sox, he's still going to swing at the first pitch. This close, he's at.
Pudge Rodriguez 1 for 4 with a double today. There's our light ship high above Wrigley Field. Breeze has shifted a little. It's blowing a little more toward the left field corner than it was earlier when it was going straight out.
I can feel it.
You could have 2 or 3 different kinds of weather during one ball game here. And there's Rodriguez hacking. Jeff Palmiero has really controlled Pudge in their respective careers. 3 for 20 is Rodriguez against the left-hander. One of those 3 hits a home run. Jeff Passero, of course, a lot of years with Seattle. Was with the Rangers for 7 games in '99. For the Red Sox, 38 games 2 years ago. Most of his time, of course, with Montreal. Rodriguez will drop one into right field for a hit. That evens the hits at 9.
So much for the tiebreaker. See Pudge right there, and we said this earlier. The ball that's on the plate that Pudge can get to, he can hit, and he can hit it hard. And Passero, without throwing the split finger like he used to it as well, he's going to have a tough time getting a hitter like Pudge out.
A-Rod and Passero, former teammates in Seattle. They've only faced each other twice. Alex with a base hit in those 2 trips, and he's only 1 for 8 in this series with 2 singles. Nasty breaking ball started him off for strike 1.
Well, I think Alex goes to the plate looking for a fastball out over the plate. That breaking ball there starts out over the plate and then breaks down and in on it. It's okay to get fooled by a breaking ball as long as you don't put it in play. See Girardi wanting the ball up there.
And a jam job results in a chopped foul outside third.
That's not the easiest thing to do. You see Girardi, he motions up with his hand and he gets up high with his mitt. That's difficult to throw the ball up there simply because you don't practice it. You always work, as a pitcher, you're always working on trying to get the ball down and hitting your corners, not trying to get the ball up.
Got him on a pitch diving down and away from the right-hander. And A-Rod continues to be very quiet in this series. 2 outs, top of the 9th.
Well, Alex has got to be struggling with the way that he's seeing the ball because this is not a real good swing. This is just another slider, backdoor breaking ball that starts out of the zone. It's only in the zone for a split second and then see you later. And when you're struggling, you've got to believe that, especially for Alex, he's trying to do everything that he can to put some runs on the board and swing. He's actually going out of the zone to put the ball in play, and that's tough to do when you're a hitter no matter how good you are.
Rafael Palmiero with a walk and a homer today. .409 career batting average against Jeff Passero. His updated season numbers now with 14 long ones and 38 batted in. He's 9 for 22 career against this left-hander. Up the middle, but that's where the shortstop is playing. The shift works beautifully. Rangers gone, top of the 9th. Bottom of the inning coming up. It'll be Bellhorn, then the top. And Sammy might bat 4th. And he's usually a cinch to put the ball in play.
He's tough to strike out. Keeps his hands back, regardless of what you're throwing. He seems to make contact just about anything you flip up there.
In the air to left. Should be easy for Mike Lamb. And folks, get ready. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, and here comes Sammy. There is no activity in the Texas bullpen, so what they're talking about here, Jeff, is that old working carefully thing. What are they talking about right now exactly?
Well, I think that what Acosta's trying to tell Arabu here is where to stay away from Sosa with the pitch. The thing about it is you would normally say keep the ball down and away from him, but with a guy like Sammy, you keep the ball down and away, you're playing right into his hands. The pitch that he hit out earlier in the ball game was down and away, and he hit it out like a rifle shot out of right field. Then the next pitch was a slider that was actually off the plate down the way, and he hits it down the first baseline for a double. So you just better be real careful. The last thing you want to do here is hang one in the middle of the plate and then hit it out there off the Budweiser side of left field.
Sammy Sosa has hit 1 homer today, an opposite field shot. Bottom of the 1st. It was a laser. That thing got out of here in a hurry. And 16 of his 26 homers this year have gone to the opposite field. He's 2 for 4 today. First pitch. Low and away.
The thing about Sammy is you want to keep him in the ballpark here, but if you walk him, you got Patterson with some speed at second base, and then you got Freddie McGriff coming to the plate. McGriff's been swinging the bat well, left-handed batter against a right-hander. This is a win-win situation for the Cubs. So Robo's going to have to do some pitching here. And the thing about this, Bob, we wouldn't even be having this conversation had he not walked the leadoff hitter.
Great.
0-2 to 3-2, and you walk it. That's deadly.
That's Sammy Sosa 3 hitters away.
Yeah, that's deadly in any league, especially in the 9th inning. Can't do that. No wonder he doesn't like closing.
4-4 game. 2-0 count. On the corner. Away, away, away.
Well, I think Sammy's got it judged now. Another fastball like that, he'll be looking for the player of the game. Maybe a slider here. If you're going to throw him a breaking ball, that's where you want it. 1 inch off the bottom of the dirt. If it's 2 inches, he might pick it. Pudge calls for a slider here. The ball starts in the middle and just drops out. Actually, that looked like a split thing.
Counts even 2-2. Winning run at first base. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. And he overthrew the fastball and almost threw it back to the bricks.
You see that pitch right there? He's trying to keep the ball so much on the outside part of the plate that he actually cut that pitch.
Now it's gone to 3-2, an advantage for the Cubs now. The runner can be moving. 35,581 at Wrigley today. The runner goes. Swing and a base hit to right field. First and third, 2 outs. And Sammy Sosa has a 3-hit day. And every one of them have gone to right field.
That was an outstanding job of hitting. That ball was almost hitting the ground. Like I said before, 2 inches above it, he'll get it, and he got that one.
Red McGriff steps in, and he's had a good day swinging the bat.
This is split finger here. Sammy hits it with one hand. This ball's not even a strike. One hand, Sammy.
A couple of years ago, Sammy tries to pull that pitch, and he strikes out.
Right.
What a hitter he has become.
Well, we were talking about that earlier, how dangerous he is when he's hitting the ball that way. Not just from a hitting standpoint, but once as a pitcher, you know that he can hit the ball that way. Not too many places you can pitch it.
Red McGriff, a base hit in the first. A hit, scored the tying run in the 8th. In between 2 long fly balls. And he's done quite well against Irabu in his career with those 3 hits. 2 of them have left the yard.
Well, right there, Irabu tried to backdoor a split finger. The one thing about throwing a split is if you try to throw it for a strike, it's a meatball. You want to start the ball in the middle of the plate and let it drop out of the zone, not go into the zone, because if it does, it goes out in a hurry.
Ball 2. And here's the other thing. Putting Fred McGriff on first means nothing.
Yeah.
You've got Moises Alou, who's 0 for 4 on deck, a right-handed batter. And even though Alou had a 10-game hitting streak stopped last night, he has not been the hitter lately that we know he can be. So you don't give in here. And they get the ground ball to second. Scooped up by Michael Young, and we're going extra innings at Wrigley Field. The Cubs strand 2. They've left 9. To the 10th we go. The score is tied at 4. Rush hour traffic on North Shore Drive. And here at Wrigley, we're going to the top of the 10th. Cubs and the Rangers are tied 4-4. It'll be Herbert Perry, Kevin Mench, and Gabe Kapler for Texas. Jeff Becerro still in there for the Cubs.
Carpenter's been a long time since I went in extra innings.
Yeah, you were one of those guys. If you pitched, it would be the 9th, sometimes the 8th. But if you pretty much finished up by now, but in this business, buddy, you're hanging with me until this one's over.
Got that right.
Herbert Perry, 0 for 3 with a walk. An RBI walk today with the bases loaded back in the first. Jeff Facero gave up a base hit, worked through a scoreless top of the ninth. The Rangers this year are 0-7 in extra innings. 0-3 on the road.
I think that's a direct reflection on their bullpen. They've just had a difficult time all year long from the beginning. As soon as Zimmerman went down, it seemed like all the wheels fell off the train.
Cubbies are 3 and 2 in extras. All of those on the road. So their first extra session at Wrigley Field this year. Those of you looking for Pardon the Interruption, it's currently airing over on ESPN2. One of the best shows on television now. And Jeff Facero falls behind. 2 balls, 1 strike to Herbert Perry. He's hit 9 homers this year. 19 RBIs in the month of June for the Texas third baseman. He spent the last 2 years here in Chicago on the other side of town with the White Sox.
Well, the last thing that you want to do here is walking guys, especially this part of the ballgame. You see how much trouble Arabu got into simply because he walked 1 guy. Well, this time in the ballgame, as soon as you walk somebody, especially in a National League park, somebody's going to be bunting. Then you're going to pitch the rest of the inning with runners in scoring position.
That's why the failure of Corey Patterson to punt effectively totally turned around that bottom of the ninth. He did go to third on his fielder's choice after the Sosa base hit. And a good job by Hideki Arabu to get the ground ball to Fred McGriff. Now a 3-2 pitch. He missed with it. And the Rangers have a leadoff walk. First walk issued by Jeff Facero. Into the quarterfinals is the USA in World Cup Soccer. 7 a.m. Eastern on Friday morning. And the USA with a win there could go further than it's ever gone before. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be like a school out of nowhere making it to the NCAA Final Four. And this is the world stage for the USA. Don't forget World Cup tonight, your soccer source for all scores and highlights each night through the tournament. And you can log on to soccernet.com for all your World Cup updates.
I wonder how many times in Kevin Minch's minor league career that he was asked to bunt, because he's bunting right here.
He was a power guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. Hitting for it probably everywhere he's been.
As I mentioned, he had 71 homers in the minor leagues with 272 RBIs the last 3 years. Now that will get you on the fast track to the big leagues. Nobody hits like that anymore and serves a 4 or 5 year apprenticeship down there. Right. They'll find a place for you.
The only thing they want him to do today, though, is get this bunt down right here and don't screw it up.
Bill Miller is not only in on the grass, but by the time the pitch was made, he was very close to the third base line. He's moved off the line a bit. Now here he comes. And looking a little uncomfortable with a late lunge was Kevin Minch in that foul ball.
Well, he's got a left-handed pitcher out there in Facero. The ball's going to run away from him a little bit. He's got to get the bat out in front of the plate. And right now, he's still standing in the same spot that he is. You see him right here. He's got the bat out there, but then he pulls it back at the last second and stabs at the ball. You don't want to stab at it. You just want to catch it. This is the easiest bunt that you can make right here. All you got to do is bunt the ball towards the first baseman. You're going to have the sacrifice down. You're going to move the runner over. But if you stab at it, you're just asking for trouble.
1 ball, 1 strike. Another stab. Not doing a real good job of catching the ball with the bat. And now he's behind 1 and 2.
Well, he gets in the right position, but as the ball's coming to the plate, the ball runs away from him, and you'll watch him right at the last second. He pulls the bat back, and then he stabs at it just like that. You can't do that. If you're going to try to bunt that way, you're in big trouble. That is not good technique.
If anything, your hands are supposed to be just the opposite.
Right.
The right hand way out in front of the left. Now, you'd almost think he has to be swinging. Miller has backed up at third. He does swing and gets a half-swing base hit to right field. How about that? First and second, nobody out for Texas.
Well, I believe in this situation that Mr. Kapler will be asked to bunt and move the runners to second and third.
Herbert Perry coming up lame at second base. Assistant trainer Ray Ramirez out to have a look at him. Looks like he's pawing away at that little lower left hamstring.
Well, you watch him when he's running, he has to stop when the ball comes by, and I think that one little stop right there might have affected his knee a little bit. He's had so many problems with both of those knees over the life of his career. You'd hate to see anything happen to him right now as well as he's been playing. Looks like he's grabbing his hamstring.
Yeah, I think he tweaked that hammy a little bit coming into second base. And if you convince your manager to leave you in the game, you better be ready to run full speed to third base on a bunt or home plate on a base hit. He cannot do so. They got to get him out of there.
He didn't do much convincing. He must be hurting a little bit. But in his situation, there's no need to push it. You pull that thing all the way through, not going to be playing for a while. Looks like Jason Romano's coming out to run at second base.
And an interesting swing on that play by Kevin Mench. After failing to bunt twice.
How about that? That was an ugly AB, but it got the job done, whatever it takes.
Well, I'll say one thing. He got the sweet spot of the bat on it because that thing rifled into right field.
Two sinkers away from him that he stabbed out on bunts. He gets a slider down and in off of his shoe tops, cuts it into right for a base hit.
Infielder Jason Romano, the pinch runner. First and second, nobody out. And Gabe Kapler, with everybody charging it in, unable to get it down.
But if you look at the American League side of baseball, there's not too many guys that are asked to bunt during the course of a ball game. Most guys are trying to hit the ball over the fence. It's not a whole lot of small ball played in the American League ballpark, so you don't get a whole lot of practice bunting. And even so, Bob, I mean, you've seen this time and time again. You get hitters out there that during batting practice, you're asked to bunt, a couple of hit and runs. They just go through the motions, you know. If you're going to bunt, you got to work at it a little bit.
No balls, one strike. Kapler lays it down. There's a play at third. No, he changed his mind. The problem for Palmiero was Bill Miller couldn't get back to the bag quickly enough.
All right, he couldn't get back to the bag, and Romano's got some pretty good speed. He was getting to third rapidly, and the thing about it with Palmiero right there, you just need to get an out. And you see Miller as he breaks in. The ball goes towards first base, so Miller's supposed to break back right then. And he got back in time. It was just a matter of Romano being right on top of him. Palmiero makes that throw to third right there. Everybody's safe.
Second and third, one out. Michael Young, pitcher spot due up next. The Rangers have Ryan Ludwig in the on-deck circle. First base open, the infield in. Outfield shallow except for Alou in left. We mentioned earlier, pardon the interruption, now taking place over on ESPN2. Sports Center next here on ESPN as soon as we have a final result from Wrigley Field. Top of the 10th, 4-4 game. Rangers and Cubs interleague play. They're going to go ahead and load the bases now by walking Michael Young.
Walk Young, set up the double play, bring the rookie to the plate.
And that rookie will be Ryan Ludwig. Ludwig started the ball game last night in the leadoff spot and went 0 for 4. He's a former running rebel of UNLV who came to the Rangers in a 6-player deal with Oakland in January.
Zambrano just lifted his hat. When you lift your hat in the bullpen, that says you're ready. You got Palmiero out there. He's got the experience, but Bader may want to go with a righty on righty situation here. problem that he runs into is he's got Lamb up next.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Infield halfway. They'll go for a double play if they can get it. If not, they'll come home. Palmiero throws a strike.
Home on the corners, 2 up the middle.
Ludwig's first pinch hitting appearance this year. And he's done well as a rookie, hitting .273 in 12 ball games, 44 ABs with 12 hits.
What a time to get your first pinch hit duty. Bases loaded. Wrigley. Extra innings.
Well, you can make it something to remember.
His heartbeat.
The 0-1. On the corner. He gave up on it, and Palmiero dropped it in. The count's 0-2.
It's the first time I've seen Diaz call that ball today. I'm sure Palmiero is loving that. When you throw a breaking ball up there and it stays up high in the zone, you get a strike call. You gotta love that right there.
No balls, 2 strikes. Tried to jam him there, and Ludwig got a piece of it.
Ludwig may not see another fastball now. He's going to see a steady diet of split fingers. Ball had some action right there.
The count's 0-2. Bases loaded. Whoa! Palmiero losing the handle completely. The wildest of pitches puts Texas on top.
That was unbelievable.
We've seen some high and we've seen some low. I'm not sure I've ever seen one that wide. Amazing.
Well, I don't know exactly what that was supposed to be, but whatever it was wet when it came out of his hand.
And then it ricocheted off the bricks and headed over toward the third base dugout. Joe Girardi running all over the place. Second and third, 1 out. Texas leads 5-4. And the count's 1-2. Infield in. Low and inside, counts even.
Well, in this situation right here, Bob, you walked the batter before so that you could have the bases loaded for the double play. Why don't you do it again? You got runners at second, third. You've already given up the run. You might as well walk Ludwig here, put him on first base, and go for the double play with Lamb. I know you got 2 strikes on him, but this doesn't make any sense. You got to get out of the inning the best way possible, and the best way to do it is with a double play, not with a play at the plate.
Ludwig offered at it. No swing, says Randy Marsh, the crew chief down at first. And the count's full.
Which Palmiero in this situation, he may pitch around him anyway.
I don't know how badly one pitch can affect a pitcher when he totally lost his release point. That's got to be playing with the mind of Jeff Palmiero, even though he's such an experienced veteran. 3-2.
Well, whatever he was throwing there, he might not want to throw that one again. I don't know if that was a split, a spit, a slider, or what, but whatever it was, it landed on the brick wall back there.
That was unbelievable.
Did you see Baylor's face? He was like, what is going on out here? Like a shot put.
Wrigley Field definitely quiet all of a sudden. 3-2 pitch, base hit. That'll score 2 more. And the Texas Rangers have taken a 7-4 lead.
See, that's the situation right there, Bob, that I was talking about. You've got your infield playing back with the bases loaded. You get a ball like that, you got a double play, tailor-made. Get out of the inning with just 1 run. But instead, got a base hit, and now we're up by 3. See, these guys are in. Any at least little bit left or right, you got a base hit. But I think if you're gonna walk the guy in a tie game, you need to walk him right there. You need to walk him again. Load him up.
That'll send some to the L train. Don Baylor, about 7 pitches ago, had the chance to get out of this inning scoreless, and now they've given up 3. Mike Lamb takes one on the corner. the one thing the Cubs wanted to do was have a good series here against Texas and have some momentum going into what could be as much of a make-or-break series as one in June can be. Not that you're going to be mathematically eliminated or anything, but the first-place Cardinals come in here this weekend. They'll have the Sunday night game on ESPN. You don't want to go into that series 11 or 12 games under 500, maybe 11 or 12 back of St. Louis. And that could happen now if they can't take care of business here, and then another one tomorrow. 0-2, got him looking. Another look at what happened to Jeff Palmiero on that wildest of pitches.
Well, you watch him as he comes through. His hand just comes off the side of the ball.
Now Don Baylor to the mound. Doesn't want the lefty against Pudge Rodriguez. Ugly 10th inning for the Cubs. Zambrano coming in. Rangers of Texas on top 7-4. Major League Baseball on ESPN, our Wednesday afternoon edition. 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. We've got a good doubleheader getting underway for you. Garrett Anderson, Jim Edmonds, former teammates, Angels Cardinals at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern time, we'll take you out west for the first place Red Sox of the AL East. A game and a half up on the Yankees, and they'll take the San Diego Padres. Cubs are 10 games under the 500 mark. Neither one of these ball clubs has done well in late inning close games, Jeff, and it rears its ugly head again here for the Cubs. How about Don Baylor in this situation?
Well, this was a crazy situation. You walk Michael Young with the bases loaded while the score is tied. Then when the wild pitch came, he didn't walk Ludwig. He just left guys at second, third. I think you should have walked Ludwig there. Then you set yourself up for the double play. At least let Palmiero face Lamb. Now he's making the move with Zambrano here, and the game's already out of hand.
Pudge Rodriguez, base hit off the glove of Alex Gonzalez. Ludwig will stop at second.
I just think that once you're in the situation where you're trying to win the ball game with the bases loaded and the score tied, then you're going for damage control after that. And if you're not going to walk the guys, you're just asking for it. And this is what happens now. It's a 3-run game. Now you're back to the meat of the lineup.
A-Rod next. Over on ESPN2, PTI, pardon the interruption, currently airing. SportsCenter is next here on ESPN. We still have a bottom of the 10th to play. And you never know, maybe no. Up and into Alex Rodriguez, who's 1 for 5 with a base hit today, 2 for 9 with 2 singles in this series. He's the 8th Ranger to bat here in the top of the 10th. And it all started with that dreaded leadoff walk.
Well, you don't want to walk guys in the leadoff situation anytime in the ball game, but especially late in the game.
A 21-year-old right-hander Carlos Zambrano. He only turned 21 on June 1st. He's from Venezuela. 6 games with 1 start for the Cubs last year. Jeff Palmiero, after a bizarre wild pitch and a key base hit by Ryan Ludwig, stands to be the loser unless his team bails him out bottom of the 10th. And the problems the Cubs have there, Sammy Sosa and Fred McGriff both batted in the 9th. So where does the offense come from? They've been asking that question here all season long.
Well, they're going to have to do something, or this is going to be a long second half for this ball club if they're not going to swing the bat. But you would think on a day where the wind's blowing out, we'd have a lot more runs scored than what we've had. Guess you have to give credit to the pitching sometimes.
Cubs have pitched pretty well lately. Rangers' second worst pitching staff in the American League, other than Kansas City. Out to short, and a big hop for Gonzalez. The short way for the out. Damage done. Rangers get 3, and it's 7-4 Texas into the bottom of the 10th. Bottom of the 10th, and the Texas Rangers 3 outs away from their first extra inning win of the year in 8 tries. After going 0 for 7, SportsCenter as soon as we wrap this one up here on ESPN. Francisco Cordero takes over for the Texas Rangers to wrap this thing up in the bottom of the 10th inning.
This kid's got a great arm. I know that they've been trying to get him to the big leagues for a while. Last year he would have made the team out of spring training, but he hurt his back. Ended up having to have some pretty extensive work on his back, but now he's back out there and throwing the ball pretty decent.
And you saw Jason Romano, who stayed in the game to play left field. That moved Mike Lamb to third. And here's Cordero, who has a chance for his first major league save. It is a save situation, 3-run game.
That's right, it is. Wouldn't think that, would you? After all those runs coming around a while ago.
Hideki Irabu stands as the winner. Jeff Pissarro would be the loser. Moises Alou for the Cubs and a fastball outside corner. Moises today 0 for 4. And in this series 0 for 6. He had a 10-game hitting streak coming into the action here last night. That didn't take long.
Well, when you throw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball like that, it shouldn't take you too long. Fastball up and away following an 88-mile-an-hour slider that was a strike, whether Moises swung or not. It's a pretty good pitch right there.
Next up, Alex Gonzalez for the Cubs.
This is really the time for the Rangers to see what some of their younger guys can do. Put them out there and see what they got. That way you know what you can and what you can't build your club around. Worst case scenario is you get a kid out here like this that gets some big league experience and gets some time under his belt and gets some maturity going.
Good day for Alex Gonzalez after his walk-off homer last night. 2 for 4 today with an RBI.
This is what I like about the end of the ball game. I like guys getting out there and working fast. I like to see the hitter call time because I'm working too quick, or the pitcher's working too quick.
And he blows away 2 in a row. Foul tip held on by Pudge Rodriguez. And it'll be Joe Girardi, who has caught a long game behind home plate today. Cordero's come out of the bullpen smelling that first career save and throwing 6 consecutive strikes.
I can imagine he's probably got a little adrenaline going right now.
Seven straight strikes. And that guy took it on the backside. Got up to leave. That's what happens when you get up to leave the game early.
Even got smoked.
And then your buddy gets the ball from the guy in front. Says, give it to me. I'm the one who got smoked. The 0-1 he finally missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Don't ever leave a game early. That's the lesson to be learned. Pulled a little string there.
Oh, that's a nice breaking ball right there. And the thing about it is when you're filling up the strike zone with your pitches, you're going to get guys swinging at pitches that are borderline. That pitch was tough right there. Start in the middle of the plate, drop straight down. Pudge is calling for another fastball here.
The 1-2 got him looking. And the Texas Rangers in 10 get their first extra inning win of the year, 7-4. Aerial coverage provided by the Saturn Light Ship today. Don't forget, tonight at 7 Eastern. ESPN brings you the Angels Cardinals. At 10 Eastern on the Deuce, Red Sox Padres. Sports Center next with Trey Wingo and Kenny Mayne. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Jeff Brantly, Bob Carpenter, so long from a long day at Wrigley Field.